What's up, everyone? I'm back with another episode of the Keep Going podcast. Today, we got a awesome guest, my little brother, David Jordan. He is an awesome guy, huge on pouring back into the youth, always setting the right level of hard work and standard with them, as well as making sure he's always the best version of himself. Someone I've been friends with for a long time, and someone that continues to teach me to this day. I think you all will appreciate this conversation, get to hear some funny stories, as well as get some life lessons. As always, keep going. Before we dive in, I really do appreciate you, because I know it's nothing, but I just wanted you to come on.
No, I was interested. Like you said, you're not the most public of people. You're a real personable person. Mm-hmm. Like you can talk to a fly on the wall and just enjoy listening to the life story. But for you to do something like this, it was just like, he's just so, reserved to an extent, unless it's the people that you really mess with. So to see you do this and kind of bring light to yourself and other people, which you've always gave other people shine, but seeing you in this field or whatever is very interesting for me, because it's, I don't want to say off brand, but just a little,
That's funny. I thought that too, because when I was talking a few episodes ago, it was about, like, I'm always authentic, so I'm always being real with somebody, but sometimes you definitely get better one-on-one. It's just how it goes.
Absolutely.
Even our relationship grew the more one-on-one time you get. So for you to say it's off-brand is cool, because that's why I want to have, that's why I want to have a range of guests, from real estate to business to life to friends to all that, because it is semi off brand. Like some of the people in real estate, they're saying, oh, I'm glad you did, because I'm surprised it took so long. You should have done this a long time ago, because they see me meeting with so many people, but I just randomly felt the urge to do it more. And I was like, the guests, I think the part that's going to stand out to folks is how diverse but connected. Like, of course, the people aren't going to be very similar all the time,
right?
But like the one-on-one connection, the like flowers you give me on being a personable person is going to be seen.
Absolutely.
So it's funny to see it with the random acts of folks.
It's just funny to me, because like someone that don't know you to be in a random Walmart might think you're just like I don't know, you kind of, you got the task, got the long hair now, on the bike, like, don't mess with this dude. He's, or he don't really talk much, even some people that you're around often may think, you don't really chop it up. Like, we don't know each other, so he just don't look like a guy and may want to just chit chat. But like anybody that knows you on that level, that's why it's like, it's good to know, because you're just like you're a good human, but everybody who doesn't necessarily have that close relationship don't really know how you are.
I know. It's funny, because in my business interactions, I try to still keep that. I want it to be friendly like that, but sometimes you can only go so much on either side, because I've had moments where maybe I got too comfortable and the person just really didn't like that. Not that I was out of pocket or anything, but like, just trying to connect with them on something that they don't want to go that deep there, but they will here, or they like the conversation here, but they don't want to talk about this, and you never know what someone's going through mental wise. So something could be touchy for a reason. So it's interesting how it works, because my job is to problem solve, but to problem solve, I have to ask more questions than I've ever asked in my life. My majority, I feel like I asked the right questions in my personal life, especially now, but growing up, I just really didn't want to know too much. I feel like I wanted to have the relationship with my friends, but if someone got into talking about something that maybe wasn't my business, I'm like, okay, I don't even want to hear the details, because then I've got them. And so I've always been reserved like that, but now I'm more open to it.
Yeah.
And that seems to help.
That's what I think is so funny. It's just like, you're not a messy person. You're not a need to know everything type of person. So like,
I'd rather be the opposite.
Right. So then your job is like, hey, what do you like on this? How do you kids, X, Y, Z. How do you, that's why I think it's just so fun. Like, and I'm appreciative of that because a lot of people like myself, like I stick to what I know and what I'm comfortable with. Like I stick with my friends that I'm comfortable with. Like if you're going to the club or X, Y, Z or not, it's probably not as close as you see me when I'm talking to other people.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like with Zach, like we can talk about life. We can talk about his work, my job, but if it's like, hey, bro, we're finna go down to Dallas for the weekend, turn up X, Y, Z. And it's like, oh.
I'd be surprised if we went together.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's our other friends that are wanting to do that. And we're like, okay, I'll step out a little bit.
Right.
Like, as far as on the daily, we'd rather just talk or meet up and
have coffee or
something. Just something more chill.
Simple.
But it means a lot. And I think that's cool too, is like you said when you got here, you're like, well, we're getting older. When you call, I answer. But you've been like that. I remember making a Facebook post a few years ago, and it got so much traction because you were just leaving me a voicemail. And you were like, I haven't talked to you. This was before you bought your house. And you were like, I haven't talked to you. And, I just wanted to check on you. And me and you have lost people. So you're always like, and by the way, like, I really care about you. I hope all is well. But it's so genuine. And now 30 minutes together or a phone call for 45 minutes means a lot more than it used to, even though it used to mean a lot. Because we wouldn't be friends this long. We've been friends since junior high and then got really cool as we were adults.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't have happened, I don't feel like, if we didn't have a good foundation. But to see it grow and it mean more, you just don't know it'll happen that fast.
No, for sure. Because, I mean, that was the thing, right? Like in junior high, we probably didn't talk the most, but it was like...
But since we were on basketball teams, we brushed shoulders, we'd scrimmage, like we knew each other, but not hanging out. But I only hung out with like 4 people.
Right. And that's the thing, because I was like, well, Zach can hoop. Like, because I think one of the practices we came to was one of y'all's, like when I got to 7th grade. This is when we still had 9th grade in junior high.
And our 9th grade was historic.
Right.
When I think of the glory days, it's so funny because you always laugh at folks that just bring up like high school or something. But genuinely, our freshman team was cold.
It was crazy, bro.
It was cold.
And I'm like, because I'm like, okay, well, this is big ass dude. I met Brandon and I'm like Tilford, but they weren't. Brandon was goofy, but and love him to death. But he still tried to have that like cool aura about himself because he's so damn big. And Tilford was Kobe Jr. Like, but he was too cool for school.
He was a killer,
right? But then you can meet Zach, and it's like Zach's cool. He's competitive. He don't act better than you. Okay. We lost touch for a little bit. Then you met Devon. And then that's how we kind of reconnected. And then we met at the church. And then I'd see you at the church.
Well, I came to watch one of your games at Hillsdale.
And that too.
You were like, yeah, I'm about to go in here. And I looked at the team. I was like, damn, it's like that. You're like, yeah, it's like that. We play these type of teams. I was like, damn. You're like, yeah, it's on. And I watched it. And I was like, damn, he did really good. Because there's such a growth from junior high school to college, and then pros, of course. But
for sure,
the small transitions are crazy. Like, but you played a lot, kind of. No, not a lot. I mean,
right,
in all your years, but you were a steady player. I was more of like, I don't know. I guess I hate to say a practice player because I played more in that realm. Right. But that's just kind of what it was. Yeah. So I earned a lot of my glory one-on-one with folks, but to watch you grow as you were getting exposure, because you were always athletic. So in junior high, when you weren't the most coordinated, you were athletic enough that you were getting stops like crazy. And then you get into high school and you actually like to shoot. And then you get into college and you learn the game more. I feel like you were always smart with the game. But when I started playing with you as an adult, I felt like me and you could connect and not have to say nothing to where you can't do that with everybody. But maybe that's something that was special about you because you were on the study and the game side. Were you always like that?
Honestly, I think I'm more naturally gifted in football, and it's easy. It's way people don't understand how easy football is. Like I could dissect a defense. 'Cause I played quarterback my whole life for the most part, but it was like once I got to basketball.
What made you switch?
Honestly, I understood the game better than I did football. Like when it comes to, because I played defense too under my dad and stuff like that. So it was like, I don't really understand these coverages. I just know if you tell me I'm deep as the deepest man, that means nobody gets behind me. Even if I got to start 10 yards off of, I know if I'm supposed to blitz, then I'm supposed to go, but understand where everybody else was on the defense. But when it came to football or basketball, it was just like defense is easy. for the most part. As long as you zone, the court's not that big.
Mm-hmm.
I zone 3-2. You got this corner, and you got the 3 up top, or you flip it. You know what I'm saying? 2-1-2 zone is simple. But when it came to basketball, it was just like, and it's funny that you said what you were saying, because in 7th grade, I was a shooter. It was the weirdest thing. Yeah. It was like, I remember I hit 5 threes. I'll never forget. I hit 5 threes against Central.
But y'all's 7th grade team was cold.
Yes.
I just didn't get to watch as many of your games.
Yeah. Me, Demetrius, Jaleel, Arion, Terrence Miles.
I just remember Arion being the fastest kid. Just
like,
pew, pew, pew.
Yes.
You're like, dang.
Yes. And the one thing, and it's funny because we played together a lot, and I'll never forget one of the instances, and I'll bring it up in a second, but like, I could always pass the ball really well because I played quarterback. Like, I know the little bit of space between you and the defender and you having your hand extended where that defender can't get the ball. So I was always good at playing defense and being able to make a pass, and, you know, they call
like
it
off a stop or
or anticipating. And I'll never forget it. It's funny. It's a funny situation, and it's going to tie into yours. But we were playing Highland East because it was Derek Toll's brother was on in the sideline.
Oh yeah, he's cold too.
And I got to stop, and I couldn't dribble. You know, I've never been the best dribble. This is 7th grade, maybe 8th. But I picked the ball up. I see Arion, like you said, phew,
yeah,
he's down
all the way down.
And I pick it up and I throw it like a football, boom, and I hit him and I chunk it. But it's a dart. Like, and you know, a lot of those overhand passes get real walky with
they'll start turning.
Yes. And I hit him, boom, in stride. And his brother looks, I think it's his dad next to him. He's like, "What is this, football?" And I'm like, I just how I can make those passes. Like before,
but a full
it was
court
really
pass
okay.
as a 12-year-old, I mean,
right?
You can't be hating that hard. Like you threw it 90 feet at 11 years old. That's already a blessing,
right? And it's like, this is a basketball, like this. But then we played. And it's funny. It was the last time we've ever touched a basketball court together. We were at the church. I think it was me, you, Brandon Lucas, Abe came out.
Oh wow!
Aaron was all there. I have a video on my phone.
Oh, when we played at that church in Norman. Yeah. That was good because it was random. We got hit up by Sam, and he's like, "Yeah, bring some people." And I just instantly hit the core, and it ended up being perfect. Oh yeah, because we used to play a lot.
Boy, and there was a fast break or something, and I was right beside you, and I was like, "Zach, give me the ball." I was like, "Ball," and you gave it to me. I threw a pass over my head, but whenever I it was a bounce pass, but when I bounced it, I spun it like this, and it hit the ground. And Aaron was down there, and he was running. It hit him, and it kind of spun in his hand, and he made the layup. And you were like, "Hey, bro, I'm just telling you, don't ever throw me a pass like that." I was like, "All right, I got you." But it was just funny, man. It was just like, those little things, because we talked about it before that day, but it's just like there's gonna be a day where we never play on a basketball court together ever again, and maybe that's the last time, maybe not. Maybe sometime it's just like, hey, you and Aaron pull up or whatever, we're going to play cutthroat for a little bit, but you think about that stuff at times.
Which would be really fun because it's less cardio.
Right.
So it could just be like straight work. I actually like that.
Bro. And then, I'll be 30 next year. So it's just like you see this time going on. Jabari just had a son. Dante's about to have a daughter. Like,
I have a picture on my Facebook, and it doesn't even seem that long ago, and it was Jabari in 8th grade, and we were watching him play, and he's a baby. Yeah. And then all of a sudden he's grown with a kid. Yep. And that's only like, 6 years? 7 years? He's 21?
It's 20.
20, so 6, 7 years.
6, 7. And that's why it was just funny, like that day that I had a video of you coaching Prince and King. I was like, I got to send it to my boy, because I don't know if he has any of those videos. I was like, but that's just something you keep for, in the future. And it's just like, man, you remember this? Like,
I kind of took that from you. I wanted to even talk about that, as you were always big on coaching the youth and pouring into the youth, and you would do way more. I mean, I coached them for 1 8-week season that they wanted to play, and then they didn't like it, and we moved on. But I don't know, man. You were doing tournaments. You had all these kids. Like, yeah, man, that's a hard job.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, and maybe it's trauma. What I'm saying? But being in a situation where your biological dad leaves, and now you got these kids who, I had a kid tell me, "You're like my dad," and I'm 18, 19 at the time. Like, bro, you're 12. I'm 19. I'm only 7 years older than you. Like,
it's not that far. Wait till you're in your 20s. We're the same age.
Right. You're tripping. But it's just like, all these kids running up, giving you hugs. And then whenever you go to tournaments, they all want to be in your room. Or there's, we went to Vegas and we're going to do the Ferris wheel. And they're like, "Coach, can we come with you? Or can we go do this?" So it's like, they ain't near like my kids, but they're also my little brother. So then it was just like this thing where, like, because we played against each other, cutthroat, whatever. Like, we hate to lose. So seeing that in a group of kids, no matter who, whether we played Blake Griffin, Elite, or whether we played, we played some NBA, Ryan Holland's son, we beat them.
What was your age group at the time?
Shoot, I first started coaching them in Vegas. They were probably 6th grade. But when I first started coaching them, they were 4th. I coached them probably all the way up to, I want to say 7th grade, 7th, 8th grade maybe.
So, I mean, but at that time, that's pretty impactful. You do a lot of growing from that age.
Oh yeah, like Jabari went from little chunky to starting to finally, get some, some length on him.
Yeah.
So he was finally ended up being built like me, just at 5'7". But I had Jabari, and it's crazy just seeing the development. He wasn't getting no minutes when I first started coaching, and the coach wanted me to coach, and I was like, I don't know about all that. Like, I'm not gonna have nobody's parents talking to me crazy because they feel their son need to start.
Why do you ask you? Just because you had that relationship with Bari?
Because he knew I knew the game. Like, whether, when he's coaching or somebody else coaching, I'm on the sideline with him because that wasn't his age group. Even though he was over the whole organization, it was our starting point guard's dad. But that dad was real like, man, come here. And you know what I'm saying?
It'd be scaring some kids.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he was like, hey, man, we're finna go down to Dallas. You want to coach for a weekend? And I'm like, what? I was like, I don't know about all that. So they played one game, and they're starting to lose. He's screaming. They're in 4th grade. They're in tears and stuff. And I was like, all right. It's like, next game, I'm going to go over there. So I go over there, and Jabari, like I said, he was on the bench. And I was like, came over there. He was like, go ahead, dog. You do it. I was like, all right. And I was like, time out. I was like, Jabari, get in the game. And I knew that was going to piss everybody off. And I was just like, because Jabari didn't play. Like, Jabari come home crying. And I was like,
So your first decision, you're like, hey, well, you're going to get some burn.
Yeah.
That's love.
I was like, I know what you can do because we do this at the house. Like,
well, he's been cold. When we used to play with him when you lived off 19th, and he was like 7. I was like, this little dude's cold.
Right. And that's that's why people don't really understand my loyalty to people like you or Mo or KJ. And it's like, at this time, me and Zach are in the gym playing ones at First Baptist.
Forever.
Right.
I mean, hours.
And I'm starting to learn how he's getting off these shots, and I can't do them necessarily because I'm still trying to figure out my shot, but your shot. So if we can implement what Zach, when I'm learning from Zach and the change of pace that him and Maurice have, because they may not be the fastest, but they know how to use their body. If I can give that to you because you're chunky at this time, you can be so good. So we worked on that, and I don't know why they're not playing you. I said, but we're going to figure. So I was just like, hey, what we work on? You're going to go play. I said, don't make me look stupid. I was like, this is my first thing as a coach. I was like, I'm not playing. And I told all of them, hey, y'all want to win this game? And they're like, yeah, we want to win this game. What is he talking about? And I'm like, all right, well, do what I said. We're going to win this game. We went out there, beat them. The team that they lost to in the first night ended up being in the championship. We're down 3 heading into we're down 3, 15 seconds left.
Okay.
That coach's son gets fouled on the 3-point line. He's shooting 3 free throws with 2 seconds left or something like that. He's crying, bawling.
The son?
Yes, he's bawling.
Too much pressure?
Yes, but he's cold. So I'm like, Donovan, chill out, bro. And he's like, but what if I miss him? We're gonna lose.
Oh, dang.
And I'm like, it's fine. I said, we're good. If you miss, we're going to get the rebound, but you're not going to miss, all right? I said, go up there. We shoot free throws every day. You shoot free throws for damn near half hour every day at the end of practice. Go up there and knock it down. I said, you're good. So don't worry about it. So we're going to get it. Whatever happens, we're going to win. He goes up there, hits the first one, cries even harder. He's sitting there pulling up the shirt, and he turned around looking at me crying. I'm like, Donovan, relax. You're not helping yourself right now, bro. I said, just relax. He hits the second one, and he's like, starting to grab at the shorts again. And then hits the third one, jumps up, yeah, let's go. And then I'm yelling at them, Jabari, Donovan, Jerry's up, trap, full court. Don't let them even chunk the ball. Just don't foul. We ended up going into overtime, winning by like 5. And then after that, it was just like.
And that's the first game in Dallas?
Yep. That ended up being the championship game. We played 2 other games. We blew them out by 20 just because the kids weren't, you know what I'm saying? They're 4th grade. So you got some kids that know how to work together. Yeah. And that's the easier gaps to find. It's just like these kids can't dribble real much. We just go trap him. We're going to go up big till they make us go back to half court.
Yeah.
But then we got to the championship, and it was like that was my first tournament. We lost to that team with the other coach coaching, I ended up coaching, and we beat them in the championship in Dallas, and then
it was over from there.
Memphis, Nashville, Chicago, Shreveport, Louisiana, New Orleans. Like,
how many years were you coaching then? If you said 4 or 5?
4 or 5. Dallas, Houston.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's a lot of coaching.
Yeah, I mean, it was just social media got a hold of my boy, and there was no going back. I was just like, he's too cool for school. Don't want to listen. Starting to feel himself, slimming out. Using slang I ain't never heard before. Like,
aging you quick.
I was like, all right, man, I got to let you go.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Man, I think it was, you always bring it up, so I have to. It was like, I watched you play at Hillsdale, and then we had a little gap where I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, because you were like, well, you could try this. And I'm like, man, is that even possible? Because I never played in high school. I hooped full time since I was like 12 years old, but I didn't play a lot in games. So as far as a track record, it was just really slim.
Right.
But then we met at the church, and we hadn't played in a while, but you were playing at Hillsdale. And that's when we hit those ones, and you're like, oh no, you've been getting a little better. And we started locking in more. You started inviting me up there to play. And it's funny how the pressure is, because even though it's just pickup, since it was college athletes, you're like even more locked in, and there's less room for mistakes. You'd be surprised how much better you are. Well, maybe you wouldn't, but I always was impressed with how much better you play when you play with better people.
Absolutely.
Like, obviously you play with like people your level or lower, you're not as good. But when you play with people that are better, you can only do so much. I remember going with AC, Mr. Antonio, the real James Harden. But him and I went and played at UCO, and I played, David, I think I played, when it's high intensity, there's probably only 5 games. Like, it's a tight hoop. You get 3-4 games. That's it. Everyone disperse.
Yes.
I played 3 or 4 games, and I got 1 shot, and it was at the top of the key off a swing, and I had to hit it. And it just cracked me up, because all those possessions, all that defense, passing the ball, getting a stop, setting the right screen, all those little things, and then I got 1 shot, 1 for 1. But in those higher level games, whether it's high level pickup or a pro-am or college or whatever it is, like, I think that's almost harder. You play better, obviously, but it's almost harder to play the whole game, and then you get 1 shot, you got to hit it. But this guy shot 12. But no shade to him, because that was his role. Right. He's scoring. Where, it's 12-11, we're going to 13 or whatever it is.
Tydrell and AC.
Yeah, they're going to score.
Yep.
But my goal is to, when I do get the ball, don't miss. And which is crazy, because me and you had to do that a lot, where we played a lot of games, but we had to be super efficient too. Like, we'd play pickup, and then me and you would be mad if we missed a shot apiece. We're like, damn, I missed that layup though.
That was easy.
But it doesn't even matter. Like, you could just get more volume up, pass the ball, whatever. But we were so set on like perfection. Like, no, I want to, even if I only score 4 buckets, I want to be 4 for 4. I don't want to be 2 for 4.
Yes.
Or whatever it is, or 4 for 6, or,
because depending on who you hooping with, or depending on how you're hooping that game, next game, especially if people don't know you, you're not getting that many shots.
No. You got to hit when you get that opportunity, especially when you're playing with randoms, because you won't get the ball again. Because I know you, I mean, of course, being taller, but you can dunk, you can pin something off the glass. So intangibly, like, you can run a little quicker. I'm white, of course, and I'm shorter. I mean, maybe if I was like Tilford's height or taller, I would have got a little bit of love. But
boy, that would have been a problem.
But just being who I am, any pickup I went to where it's randoms, I don't get the ball for like 3-4 rotations. So I'm just playing defense. But then when I do touch it, you got to do something. So it's hilarious that carries over, because at the church, I'll drive by there and I'll tell my wife, I'm like, yeah, there used to be battles in there. And she's like, really? I'm like, it was almost fake, and I probably did too much, because we would go 8-hour days, 5 days a week for like 3 years. And that's all it was. It was the same people every morning. People would walk in and be like wiping the sleep out of their eye, but then they got to run 8 hours. Like, it would start picking up at like 10 a.m. So you'd want to show up early so you could get shots up. But then from 10 to 4, it's runs. It's
months, bro. And that's what, it's funny you say that, because I always felt like you got so much more respect at the church than I did. So when I got picked up, so like when I got like, you know, when they start looking at people that ain't ran, it's like, fuck. Because I couldn't shoot. But I was like, when I played with like the Todrells and his cousin, oh boy, that could dunk with the dreads.
Lou and Marquise.
Lou. Like, it was like, I haven't played like this since high school because I was a shooter. Then I grew and couldn't shoot no more. So it's like, it's rebound defense and passing the scores.
But when you're playing with like Todrell and Keese and them and Lou, your role is to defend, move the ball up, and get transition buckets. That's another thing about just knowing the game. Like, it is cool to know the game and pickup. Mm-hmm. It's cool to play good pickup. I think back when I was first starting, like when I was young, I had no idea about that. Mm-hmm. But as I got older, it's like, no, like setting a good screen and playing strong pickup without a whole bunch of bullshit is really, really fun. Mm-hmm. So when you're on a team like that, you don't have to do much. I remember one time Todrell was like, hey, come play on my men's league team. It was not at Olivet, but it was some gym around here with a 2-story. I can't remember, one of those old ones. Mm-hmm. And this one I was just getting to Hillsdale, Randall. And before I tell this story, because it's about Keese, my first pickup at Hillsdale, it was against, you know, their strong core, and Keese was one of them. And I remember after the game, because Keese is probably like us. He's real nonchalant, doesn't talk to many people. If anything, he's worse than us on that because he's just reserved. But he's so cool. Like, he's so loving. He's cool as fuck. He's a cool-ass dude.
I love Keese.
And he cares about folks. He's, like, genuine. But after that first pickup game, I tried to say, good game, and he didn't dap me up. And then I remember months later when I made it on the team, I remember bringing it up to him. And he's like, I don't even remember. I'm sorry. Like, he was just being goofy. But that night was the Christmas break in between that Christmas break in between seasons or whatever. And I went and played with Todrell, and my only role was to just catch and shoot. So I was like, cool, I don't even, because Todrell and them are going to run the point, and they're good at it. They don't, I mean, I'll usually run the point, but Todrell's good at running the point, so we'll let him run the point. Lou will be on the wing. I just run and just catch it. I remember hitting like 8 or 9 threes in that men's league game. And Keese was like, what the fuck is that? Like, why are you doing that? And it's like, you just got to, like, pick your spots. Like, he would do that. He would go on a run of, but they ain't going crazy. We're going to hold up.
Yeah, it was an IMSA, and that was a fire truck.
Man.
There we go.
Yeah. But, yeah, with Keese, he would do that, too. He would go on spurts where it's 3, 4, 5 threes. Or something like that. But it just made me laugh because that was one of those examples of good pickup. Like when we used to have the historic Westmore runs. Like, that's strong pickup. Like, rest in peace, Cornell, when he was running it. Like, I remember I'd go to play, and my only opportunity to score, unless I ISO'd, was to catch it off a screen and shoot. And sometimes in that high-level pickup, there doesn't need to be 3 ball handlers. So you really have to pick and choose. And I think that's what some people struggle with is, like, everyone wants to catch the ball and drop it. Pat, and then move. And I dribbled a lot. And people may hear this and be like, well, I think you patted it too much. But, like, I love to dribble too.
Right.
But if I had a designated point guard, I was like, oh, I'm running the 2. And all I'm going to do is shoot or pass it back. Shoot or pass it back. Shoot or pass it back. And I think it's cool to dive into different roles because sometimes you would go on a shooting run. Or you'd be the big. Right. Or now you're the point guard. Right. And I'm just playing off you. So, or like when you and Aaron used to run together and he would just play off you. So it's interesting, like, how you can mature in the game.
And I got a lot of that from you. Like, I had an evolution. Like, I really didn't get decent at basketball till after high school.
Yeah, me too. I was a late bloomer.
Right. And I felt like, you know, because it was football. So, and soccer. So it was,
which is another thing we connect on. Soccer's fun.
No, it's fun to play. A lot of people.
It's hard to play, but it's fun to play.
Sometimes, you know, because some people don't have the attention span to see a soccer ball go. But when you're in that field, and it's really like, okay, they're making a push this way. If you're a defender or you know whatever, it's just like, all right, it's about to get live. Like,
well, I feel like if you play one time, if you play soccer one time, then you can watch it. I mean, and you don't have to play to watch.
Right.
But after I think I played a little bit after high school, and then when I was young, I played with Oscar. And when I played after high school, I did some indoor, and then after that, I could watch soccer because I was like, oh, I kind of get it. Because there's a lot of highlights that aren't necessarily goals. It's people juking people or nice crosses that just don't score. So there's some beauty in it that I think you have to get past.
And there's a lot more physicality than people realize. Like when
a lot of body.
Yeah, whenever the ball's up in the air and this dude's coming for it, that dude's coming for it, you're trying to stop them.
They're moving and mushing elbows.
Yes, bro, I love it. But when it comes to basketball, I was so amazed at your ability to do that because I played with so many people that wanted to be the guy, you know, and it's like all of you want the ball. All of you want to show off your handles because, you know, this is like Allen Iverson era at this time. He's still in the league. I don't know if he's on Denver or the Grizzlies, but that's what everybody wants to do.
Or the Pistons.
The Pistons, yeah. But it's just like, okay, well, I can shoot. So now it's like, David, do not bring the ball up because you can't dribble. Like when they put pressure on you and you bring the ball up, so it was like Arion and Jaleel, you know, the whole time. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, you can't shoot no more. Arion all of a sudden can shoot. So now you're going to be playing the 3 through 5, and you're going to block shots. And you know, it's so crazy. It's so crazy because I did not start blocking shots or even trying it until I got an accidental block against Brink. It was the fourth quarter, fucking Coach Dickhead, whatever his name is. What's the dude's name? He was...
Which one? There was like 3 of them.
No, y'all's coach.
The OG?
Hayes? Yes, hate that nigga.
Don't get me started.
Hate that nigga, right?
He loves James and Sydney, but he don't mess with me.
He loves them, you know.
He loves that.
So after this, it's funny because he begged me to take Jabari to go play for him and try to act like we were best friends. But benched me at the start of the season, try to make up something that I was talking shit about Terrence Miles, and he was like, "That's why you don't start. You're a bad teammate." And I'm like, "What?"
Coming from a psycho,
right? I was like, "I started for Coach Hayes. Coach Haggerty. Go talk to Haggerty." But so we're playing in game, playing Brink.
So that's 8th grade.
Yeah.
So I would have been at Southmore?
Yeah.
Okay.
At Southmore. Y'all would have been at 10th. So he's looking at me, talking to me, and there's this little white boy. Guess what he can do? Shoot threes. Mm-hmm. And he's been busting ass. He's got like 4 or 5 at this point. He's talking to me, and then I see him throw his hands in the air because I can't really hear him because the crowd's going crazy. It's just probably like a tie game or somewhere.
I don't think people realize how loud Highland West was. And it was old bleachers. They're all wood. So sometimes people would just bang their feet up against them on the floor, and it's just like,
yes, bro.
And it's just, and it would be hot. Like that gym is kind of historic for us,
bro. It is
because it was loud.
It's a lot louder than people like. That gym beats out a lot of high school gyms that I played in. Mm-hmm. Like even some War Wars and Southwest Showdowns that I've seen. Like, yeah. Because you got kids, because we're all 12 at this time, banging their feet. You got parents. My dad's over there trying to talk to me. Hayes is yelling at me. Arion and Jaleel trying to talk to me, but he's like saying something I can't really hear. I'm trying to focus. And he's like, I just see him throw his hands up in the air. I'm like, God damn it. And I turn and look, the white boy, because they put me on him, is gone. This nigga is disappeared. It's an imbalance play. And I look, he's gone. I run around the pick, and I see him out the corner of my eye like this. And he's got the ball, and he's finna shoot. I jump up, and I'm looking at him like this the whole time. And I just swing my hand, not thinking I'm going to hit it.
Yeah.
And I just feel it hit my hand, like not fingertips, like my full palm.
Throw it out of bounds? Damn.
And it goes up up towards the bleachers. And one of my Josh Lyons, he always talks about it. He's like, bro, you remember? He's like, the ball landed in my hand. He's like, against Brink, da, da, da. And after that, I was just like, I might start just trying to block shots now. And that's how I got to timing. But
which has been one of your highlights is the timing.
Which is crazy.
Because it's not just the what is it, the vertical. No, it's not the vertical. It's like the timing. Because I'd be like, damn.
Yeah. And that's like but I'm analytical when it comes to like body movements and how fast you're moving going into it. If I think you can slow down enough to hit me with the dribble, slow down and wait for me to go up, I can see when you change your pace. Mm-hmm. Most times that people try to do that and they try to, your back foot's going to drag its travel. It's going the other way. But it was stuff like that. And then I got to, high school, didn't get to play for whatever reason. They thought Jackson, Stallings, and Cartrell better than me, whatever. Cool. So it wasn't really like you and Abe busting my ass, pause. It's just like, bro, if I do nothing else, I could be a defender. And that's why it was like, okay, you can't shoot. You're playing with Tadrell, you're playing with Lou and all these dudes. They picked you up as a last resort because they had to, because you can't keep picking the same dudes and nobody else gets to run. So it's like, I got to go in here and make do.
You got to do something.
What I got to do. So
something you're good at. You don't have to score.
No. So it's like, okay, we're playing Tilford or we're playing this person. You go make sure you play defense the whole time.
But you always had to guard them.
Right.
Which is pretty cool. You always locked in on the assignment.
I tried to. But it's just like y'all's stuff, obviously it's different. It's still for 6'3", 6'4", but it's just like learning those things and like adjusting. Like y'all helped me become a better basketball player. And it's just like, I thought I was good at defense until I played y'all. And then I thought I was stupid enough to be like, hey, Phil, run the ones.
Yeah. Yeah. What's crazy is surprisingly our high school team, even though I didn't play a lot either as sophomore, it's actually a pretty talented team. When you look at the players, like we had Prime Gustavo. Like Prime Gustavo is unreal. Like people don't even know who we're talking about.
They don't
but
know.
Prime Gustavo is like, I don't know, like a long-armed Kevin Martin.
Easily.
But I don't know. We could go down that rabbit hole. But Phil was one of the first people. Well, because when we were growing up, Tilford and Brandon were the ones that were the ones that stood out.
And
like they were
gay.
Big A. But like junior high was them. And then when we got to high school, it was Brandon Tilford, Big A. What used to make me laugh is Devontae Henry's older brother, D'Angelo.
Mm-hmm.
Bro. Unreal. Had some kind of goofy shooting form where it was short arm like T-Rex, but he'd shoot it from half court and just, it was crazy. And then I remember watching Vontae try to dunk and it was like hard for him till he got the coordination. I'm like, you're that athletic, but basketball's not for you. But then he is the most unreal football player I've ever seen. Bro. But when we got to college and I met Phil, I told this story the other day to somebody, is we were flipping tires in Hell Week, my first day as a walk-on, and I was partnered with Phil. So it blew my mind that like he was the best, but so humble. And then when you talk about those ones, I had never seen someone score that Jamal Crawford-like in person, where it looks like, for one, it's smooth, but it's like off balance, tough shots. He doesn't really need a clear look. As long as his shoulders are square, it's money. So you're really stunned at some of the shots because you haven't met someone that good.
Right.
Like obviously Tilford and Brandon them were good, but they weren't playing around us at that time.
Right.
Tilford was playing at St. Greg's. Brandon was playing at ECU. We were playing Phil, and I was like, no, this may be one of the first creative scorers I've ever met as far as just pure creative.
Yes.
He made my game better, but just playing against him, I was like, this is insane.
Yeah. There's like most people you can find their tick or how they operate within how they dribble.
You can't get the timing.
You can't get the timing.
No. And you can jam them up, but you can't get the timing.
And that's what would kill me because I'm Mr. Block Shot Man. So when he jumps, I'm jumping, but I'm not realizing that ball's so far behind his head. I'm already on the way down when he's finally releasing it. Or he'll wait.
And he's not even holding it.
No.
Like that's normal shot. He's just leaning back, sitting still. I remember one time we were playing pickup and he was in the corner and he caught it and I ran out and I was like touching his nose. And Moody was like, you're not close enough. And he just cashed me from almost out of bounds. And I was literally, I think, touching his face. I think I like had my hand touching his fucking face. And he just splashed me. Not like I'm a crazy defender. He was taller, but I mean, that's a hard shot.
Yes.
And I remember we would start doing pickup like we normally do. And then sometimes he would just, I don't know. Him and Moody were really fun to see in college. There were other players that were amazing as well. I loved playing with Keish, Trey, Caleb, Hick, all them guys. I really loved playing with them because they made me better in a certain way. But Phil and Moody were like the grown men basketball for our era. Like that was the two people. Like Moody was one. Well, you had brought up Abram. Abram was the same for me where you said when you were playing cutthroat, now it's serious. I remember when I worked at Dick's Sporting Goods, I was like, what you about to do, Abram? And this was like my party phase where I was every Friday, Saturday was go out. And he said, well, I'm going to more. I got a key. And I was like, 11 p.m. hooping? Like, that sounds sick. Crazy. I'd rather go do something else.
Right.
So he went by himself. And then I saw him the next Saturday. And I said, hey, what'd you do last Saturday? He said, I went to the gym. Like I told you, it was like a Kobe moment where Iverson asked him and he's like, I'm going to the gym. It's like, well, I'm going to the club.
Right.
So I went to the club. But then the next Saturday, I asked him. He said, I'm going back. I was like, fuck it. I'm going to go. So we go. Bro, I know I told this story on your podcast, but
I love it.
He wore me out for probably 12 games. I think it was 12-1. Just 1-on-1 to 10 up top. make it, take it. I was like, I hadn't been beat like that by someone my size.
Right.
My thing was, the only people that usually gave me problems were bigger than me and could shoot over me or take it to the post or something like that. Like a guard, I was pretty good against guards. I didn't have the best defense, but I had timing. Abram was just so good at left-right pull-ups. I hadn't played with someone like that could just pull up and shoot like that. I remember leaving there, and the next week I went back and we started doing drills. I didn't start doing drills till I was 19 or 20 years old. 20 years old, because that's when I started playing with Abram at Moore. So 20 years old is when I started doing drills, because before that it was just hoop, pick up. But I got beat so bad that day that I was like, no way. And he's like, yeah, dribble left twice, pull up, dribble left twice, pull up. I wouldn't have even progressed in my game if it wasn't for Abram, Phil, and Moody. Like, of course, our connection, but we were growing at the same time.
Right.
So we weren't really... We were learning from each other because we had picked something up, but it was these other people that were ahead of us that I think propelled us even further. I remember Moody putting me through workouts and Phil workouts, Abram workouts, to where after that I had my own. Like, I got my own. I still do one of those Phil warm-ups when I go hoop now, touching the wall. I still do that now, but it was just crazy to start working on my game. So we were late bloomers, 20 years old or whatever, and then we ended up getting better and better. It's just kind of crazy. My wife has been telling me, you need to play in something else. And I was like, no, I'm kind of chilling. She's like, no, at least one more. So I'm like, damn, okay, maybe we'll hop in some leagues or something. But
I mean, and I've always thought you were better than me. So like whenever like we talk about the whole, are you good enough to play it? And if I'm playing at Hillsdale, you can play at Hillsdale because you better than me, bro. Like at the time, I'm still like, going to practice, going home. Like, yeah, I might go play pickup, but I'm not doing anything to.
For organized though, it's as sick as it is. It can you almost can't. I mean, it almost doesn't matter who's better. And sometimes, like, you might be
situational.
You're a way better plug-in. Just if we're plugging it, 100%, because you can play defense, you're faster, you can jump higher, and you got good timing. Like those right there, especially at Hillsdale when the coach was real set on his 2 or 3 scorers every time. You're more of a plug and play, where I think I remind myself of like Isaiah Thomas, the new one, where he's super skilled, but you can't always use him, unfortunately.
In every situation.
Because he's so skilled and he can have 50 in a men's league or 50 in the league.
Right.
I mean, not men's league, but his pro-am, and then 50 in the league. But a Jadante Murray or someone like that type of build, which is similar to your build, just translates better. I noticed that when I started playing with Coach Tyrone at Municipal, sometimes I just didn't fit the plug-in. Undersized 2 and an undersized 1. So it's like, where do you plug it in at? Looking back.
Shout out to him, too.
Yeah, shout out
I can't believe I still remember the one workout you took me to up there.
It's real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to get him on an episode.
That's
and
great.
He's tied in with some people. We'll talk about it more, but he's been talking with a lot of athletes that have been writing books and things like that. So he wants to talk about more.
Oh, yeah.
But he's someone I hold dear to me because he was the first coach that was like, yeah, you can play. And he's not a high school coach. He's not a college coach. He's basically a community coach that makes boys to men and then gets them to the pros.
Yep.
And he has a ton of respect in the city. But I remember playing up there and taking you to workouts and playing pickup to where I started having to learn the game more and couldn't dribble so much here because they're way better defenders. We'd be playing pros or semi-pros. I can get a little push off, pull back, pull up, but not over and over.
Right.
And I can't pad it because they'll jam you up and then someone's getting the passing lane. So it was more cutthroat scoring, 2 dribbles. Where in the past I would never want to do that. But now it's like, no, even today, if me and you were going to go to a court, we'd warm up just playing, but then it'd be like, all right, 2 dribbles, 3 dribbles. Yep. Something to keep it honest to where you have to be tight. And I think once you play with higher level people, it comes out like that. Because when we played at Municipal or played at Hillsdale, some of the best games ever. Like the organized ones, of course, but some of those random pickups were just amazing.
And people don't, young hoopers today, they don't understand how much 2 to 3 dribbles helps your game when you're playing in the ones. Like you gotta find, like me, like when I play you or I play Aaron, like I actually started paying attention to my length. No, I can't dribble, but if I can get you to think I'm going this way or think I still can't go left, I can hit a quick, right to left, and my legs are long enough. I take 2 steps, I'm at the rim.
Yeah.
And I have a length.
From the 3-point line.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what it's just like. My whole, more high school, it was like if I get the ball and I see you're right in front of me, this dude's about 3 feet off, this dude's about 3 feet off, I'm attacking the gap and I'm going for a layup or a dunk. It was nothing crazy. But then once I started being able to dribble more, it's like, okay, all that's cool, but like, can I beat you in 2 or 3 dribbles? Are you fast enough to keep up with me? Can you jump as high as me? Because I realized I don't have to pat to go score 20. Like I can use my length and athleticism, or I got really good at it, and I love to do it when I know I can beat whoever's in front of me.
Yeah.
And now I'm not even worried about you. I'm worried about who's coming to help, because when you come to help, I'm dropping the ball, whether it's the center down here or if the backside dude's coming to help, I'm kicking it to the corner. Everybody's like, great pass. It's like, it's not really a great pass. It's just simple basketball knowledge. Like, I know he can't guard me, so who's coming to help next? If, like, I know I'm going this way, who is the first person that's going to come help when I go this way? And it's just like, the game is so simple, and that's what kills me, And I had to learn while I was coaching 4th graders. It's like, I get that y'all just see highlights on Instagram and YouTube, but it's like, the game is so simple. I promise you, a lot of y'all could get scholarships just if you understood the game, or you could play even if it's a Hillsdale or here. If you want to continue to play ball, you might have to pay for it. But the game is so simple, you just need to understand it. And I promise you that it's not hard to play.
I didn't even feel like I understood it to an extent until like 23. Such a late bloomer. Always a hooper. Like that doesn't mean I wasn't getting buckets my whole life.
Right.
But like to learn the game, it didn't come until then. And then I didn't play for a long time because I started doing jiu-jitsu and stuff. And then we went to the UK last October. And I looked up hooping on
some hooping spots?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I looked up on, so bro, that just makes me laugh. I was literally sitting at a pub and I was just eating lunch, and Rachel was busy. She was with friends. So I just had me time, and I type in, I'm like, pick up basketball, Manchester. You'd be surprised like what pops up. Something pops up and it's a park. And I was like, okay, outdoor, even if it's just 3-on-3, it's light. I'm in some Nike running shoes. Like we could take it easy. I haven't hooped in a while.
Right.
I show up, there's like 30 people there. And they're only playing half court that day because the other rim was getting fixed.
On.
But bro, little did I know, this is like the hooping community of Manchester. There's a couple guys, they run this community thing. They do cookouts, they do fundraisers, they do videography and pro photos of all the games that are hooping. Because there's a guy that, his name, I'll show you on my Instagram. He does all their editing.
Oh, nice.
So it's a lot of selfless acts. And I didn't know it was that cool because I don't know these folks. Right. So I show up, hey, can I get next? How many next is it? I will say this. That was the biggest culture shock. They were real polite on the next. There was no issue. Have you not played yet? You're next. Where like over here, I'm scarred because you'd have to either have the list or be damn near ready to fight just to get next. Like, no, I have next. Like, I have next. I've been waiting 45 minutes.
It's like, bro, you done played the last 4 games in a row.
You're dripping sweat, bro. Like, fuck off.
And you've lost on every team you've gotten.
And they just keep picking you up. Like, no, you're off. But I started playing with them, and I was not surprised, but I was like, damn, I haven't hooped in like a year and a half, and then everything's still cool. Like, of course, I wasn't overexerting myself so much that I could like almost hurt myself. But as far as like dribbling and pulling up and making smart passes, it was all still there. And I was like, dang, you really do get better at the game. And that was something that was really cool about the connection, is just because of basketball, I was able to connect with these 30 people where they were like, where are you from? How are you? Oh, you can play. Where'd you play at? Oh, you're one of those American hoopers. Like, it made me laugh because we do play different. I remember I walked past the park the next day, and one of the guys that was running it was there. And I was like, hey, man, because no one was hooping. I just wanted to introduce myself because I kind of I'm so nonchalant that I hooped, introduced myself to a couple people, and dipped. But I saw him again, and I was like, man, I really appreciate you letting me run and stuff. He's like, no, it's an open court. But I just thought it, and I'm not even going to fake his accent, but he was British, and he's like, yeah, this American came out of nowhere, just gave us a little taste of hooping, and then just bounced. Because everyone has their unique play style. Luckily, mine's more flashy. It doesn't mean I don't know how to play fundamental basketball, but if I'm playing pickup, I'd rather throw a behind the back than a regular. Because I'm using it for stimulation as well. Yes. So if I'm playing 2 games, I'd rather have 12 highlights and then move on.
Absolutely.
So it's crazy how fun it was. Like, I was 30 years old playing pickup with randoms. And I was like, man, this is just like when we used to play at Kelly and we were 13. And it was so fun. I'm like, how long is it going to be amazing? You just don't realize like how long it's going to be awesome. Because that's what we connected on was basketball. Absolutely. And then it turned into other stuff.
Absolutely. Like, and it's funny, like, just seeing, you know, because you saying unique play styles, and, you know, I never really looked at my game as anything special. I love being able to drop nice passes, like you were saying. And one of my I was the biggest fan. I even had a jersey as a kid, was Jason Williams.
Oh, bro, White Chocolate's the GOAT.
You know what I'm saying? And the passes he would throw, like, I remember one of my last times hooping at the YMCA in Norman. There was which is a legendary gym. Right. You can shoot in that gym. Like, once you get hot in that gym, and it's not the rims are low or nothing, it's just how I think it may be because it has a wall right behind it. It's just easy depth perception. It's like, bop, bop. Yes.
And you played a lot there. You and Aaron used to kill it.
Used to go. And it was funny because the kids are so, like, the one-track minded when it came to basketball. We're probably playing some, like, 16, 17-year-olds, you know. And I did this pass a lot when I got a little taller, but it was like one of our dudes missed a shot. Cool. I see my teammate, he's on like the left block.
I already know what you're talking about.
Not even look, you know, he's just looking at me and, you know, looking at the ball. I go up there, kind of grab it with 2 hands, and I just slap it down to him, and he catches it. And there's this dad. He just looks like a dad. He's got the turnaround ball cap, you know, playing in some like running shoes or something. Yeah. He's like, "What was that?" And he was like, "It's a drop pass." Da, 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 da. It's like, I've never
touch
seen
pass.
That before. And he's like, I mean, you got to have somewhat basketball IQ to locate a player while the ball's in midair going up. Da, da, da.
But you already knew where they were before you jumped,
right? And it's like,
and that's probably the further game,
right?
Because I saw him when that dude shot,
right?
I'm like, well, if the ball touches my hand, it's there,
right?
And if not, you're good enough at patting it that you could just tap it back in.
Yes. So
while you're up there,
right?
Me, I have to make the decision, like I'm passing it or throwing it behind me,
right?
To where you could catch it, look, and still make a decision, but it's kind of impressive to do that type of stuff naturally.
Right.
So like someone that was good at it is James on not the jump passes, which was one of my kryptonites growing up, is jump into pass, which is terrible. But
it is.
James was probably one of the best people. There's a top 5, of course, but he's probably one of the best people I saw in a pick and roll instance at every level I played at. And even though he stopped in high school and was done, like, I guess, organized hooping, his pick and roll passes were really good. Like either coming off shoulder to shoulder and doing the pocket pass or the over the top. Yeah. And he would just alternate pocket pass, over the top, pocket pass. And I'm like, I don't see that. I don't see that. Like mine are late or, so it's funny how everyone has something. Cause like Aaron, even though he can get saucy dribbling, he's the best when he can do 1 or 2 dribbles and pull up. He's one of the best at that. When you can just give it to him, let him work real quick. He doesn't have to do too much.
Right.
To where some people, you got to let them have the ball. Like Abram, he can be good off just the spot and shoot, but he kind of gets better if you can let him get a couple different buckets.
Yes.
If he can get a layup, if he can get a mid-range, if he can get a 3, now he's hot.
Yeah, that's under work.
To where me and you are cool with just getting passes. Like I want to score though.
Yeah.
But I've had plenty of games where I was responsible for 12 of the 12 points to win, but didn't score. And I'm cool with that too.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and nobody really, you know, and that'd be the funny thing. Because like when I play with Tondrell or you or anybody at church, it's like you realize my athleticism collapsed the defense. And they think I can just finish for whatever reason. I'm not the best finisher. I'm like, most of the time I'm moving too fast for my own body at this point. But it's like, kicked it out, Lou hit the 3, kicked it out, outside drill has a 3, or one of them cut, and most people in pickup, and I hate it, never look to pass to the cutter And it's like, bro, he had 2-3 feet on him. Like, I get it. A lot of people complain and swear to God that they're open when they're not on a cut. But it's like, bro, that was an easy, pass. But it's just like, Tardrell and them will get picked up because they hit all them points. I'm not going to get picked up because I just pass you the ball. And like, Tardrell and them are showing me love, but nobody else that watches it.
You have to like almost be in the club.
Yes.
Like, oh no, I can run with the best people in the gym because they know what I contribute. But if you just walk into the gym, it's going to take a minute.
Absolutely.
Like, that's what used to crack me up about going to pickup is how long I had to wait. But then showing out. But that's probably why I had such an attitude problem with organized basketball. Because I was so traumatized from pickup that when I got to organized and the coach was doing the same thing, I just cuss him out.
Yeah.
And my wife's the one that made me want to be introspective about that. Because we talk a lot about mental health and like really looking at yourself. And she's like, you don't think you weren't just like a kid, even if you were in your 20s, like being a smart ass? And like, why would another grown man want to play you if you're being a dick? And I'm like, yeah, I get it. Because I was pretty disrespectful. And I didn't start out that way. I thought I was like doing everything that you're supposed to do. But then when coaches wouldn't stand on their word about, well, if you are doing the most in workouts, I know that when you're playing, you should be tired and we'll do this and do that. And then to show out in workouts and hooping and then not get love, I'm like, all right, well, this dude's just a punk. So I'm going to just say whatever. Which, looking back, probably could have been done differently. Because even 8th and 9th grade, I was having an attitude with Coach Hayes. And that was because he would disrespect me, and I just don't like that. And my mom and my sister, since we always grew up kind of alone, they were big on like standing up for yourself. Like, no disrespect. Like, they were just big on it. So when the coach, no matter if he was a grown up or not, would say something and it wasn't right, I just always had to check it and then just live with the results. So I wish things could have went differently, but when I think back on my journey, it really was like community love based. Like, how do you get classified as a hooper but never get playing time? Right. Like, it was just one of those. I remember and sometimes I wasn't focused. Like, high school, I shouldn't have been smoking 3 blunts and then going to my high school game. Like, I probably should have been there early and, like, looked respectable. I don't know. But I just really didn't give a fuck because I never got to play. So I was like, man, I remember one time I was with my friend Dre and Aaron Gustafson and James and them. We were sitting somewhere, just undisclosed location, smoking weed in high school. And I think we smoked like 4 or 5 blunts, which is terrible. And they're like, what are you about to do? James is like, I'm going to work. Sydney's going home. Dre and them are going to eat. They're like, what you doing? I was like, I got a game in like 30 minutes. And they're like, what? And I'm like, don't play much. At all. And then when I do, I just to get to go off. I think I was one of the only players in high school with 1 minute a game, but like 1-3 a game. But there's times I think about it, and I was bringing up my last game ever in high school was a Midwest City game. And I remember showing up with Nico, Nick's cousin. I convinced the coach to let me drive, which is reckless. So I just smoking on the way to the game, thinking I'm really that guy for myself because I'm 18. I'm driving my car. It's got subs. I'm smoking on the way to the game. I really felt like the man, which is terrible because I wouldn't want my kids to do that. Right. And I get there and they're already warming up. And I run into the locker room and Tilford's still in the locker room. And he's like, damn, bro. And I'm like, sorry, bro. And I'm putting my stuff on. But he was saying, damn, because my eyes were so damn red. Like, he was like, damn, like usually you cover it, but you look blitzed.
Just came straight up.
Straight out the car. And I get in the game, have some good plays. And actually got Jackson his first points.
Oh, nice.
In high school. Maybe not his first, but like
some of his
quick varsity points.
Oh, okay.
Because we were playing varsity and I was in at the end of the game and he cut and I just hit him quick with the no look and he laid it up with his buff ass. But the part that makes me laugh about that game is like how much I should have probably stayed more locked in instead of being reckless is I caught the ball off a rebound. You know when it's a short rebound, but you still get to slap it kind of hard so you make your presence known. Like big body. I'm 5'8", but big body. I get the ball and some Midwest City kid is on my hip and he's barking. I mean, he might have literally barked. He was going crazy. Midwest City and the drop down was pretty intense. And I remember zooming to half court and then doing the little, the slight push off on the hip and cutting back. And he hit the slide, not touch the ground, but like a little bit of a split. And I talked some shit, and then he ran back up and I threw it through his leg and it hit his shoe and went out of bounds. And the ref was like, and I have a baby face. So he was like, man, you can't be doing that when you're, and he was an old school ref, which there's still refs that do men's leagues to this day that I know from high school and college that show me a lot of love. But, and the one I'm talking about, the tall OG with the bald head, the cool one.
The cool one. Yes, I do.
And there's a white one that's cool too. He could seem cocky, but he's cool. He kind of, you know what I'm talking about.
I sure do.
And this one though was one we don't know. And he was like, man, you can't be doing that in the game when it's trash minutes, because you're like earning minutes. It's like being a pro. You're earning those 3-4 minutes and it turns into 8, 12, whatever. I was like, I'm a grown ass man. I'm a senior. And he was like, oh, do your thing then.
Yeah, go crazy.
Like he was like, all right, go crazy. And I remember the coach pulling me out after and then the bench loving it. But I always think of those moments where I'm like, you could have stayed down a little bit. And I just, when I was younger, I didn't want to sacrifice that. Yeah. I always wanted to be respectful, but then when I wasn't getting it back, it was like, well, I'm going to just hoop however I want to hoop then. Like I only played on the court with Brandon and Tilford in high school, probably 3 minutes my senior year together. And one of them was at Southmore for senior night when I got to play 3 minutes. Like, I think I probably played with them 5 or 6 minutes total, because a little bit here and there. But yeah, on senior night, I got like 3 minutes.
That's crazy.
Crazy. I think I had 9. Oh, I was just trying to shoot so bad in the sideline. Because one, I'm with Tilford and Brandon on the court, and those are my guys. Like, those are my hooping brothers. Like, that's who I was with from the get-go. But then I got the day ones, James and Sydney and Dee Dee and every Traxler, all these other people in the group sitting in the crowd. And I'm like, well, I got to just score every time I touch it. Every time I touch it. Even if I airball, I'm just going to shoot it. But it's funny to see that growth, because I didn't get a lot of playing time in college either. But then to still get to have all those memories from people from basketball is crazy. Like, I went to a pool hall the other day to get something notarized because my mom was there. And there was a guy there from the church. I don't even remember his name, but he was someone we knew. And he was like, man, I can't believe we used to do that like a full-time job. And I'm like, no, it meant a lot to us. It probably saved us from a lot as well, because I feel like you and I had distractions, especially with some of the people we met. I kind of wanted to touch on that. Like, was it just because, and I'm using loose words, but was it just because you and I were more on the square side that we knew consequences, that we didn't make those? Because we knew people like robbing or fighting or slanging or some really dark stuff. And I feel like all I ever did was hoop.
That's it. And it's like you said, I think, you being the man of your house, growing up, and me being the oldest, it was just like, I think we both understood the responsibility of whether we liked it or not, what was kind of placed upon us, And
I see it not holding me back, but sometimes I'm like overanalyzing things now as an adult, where I think of all these consequences, and my wife is like, shut up, we're not about to get in trouble for this. Right. And you're like, oh, okay. Right. Because growing up, it was like, no, one time getting pulled over, it's over. One time doing something wrong, it's over. To where you want to find that balance where you think, okay, well, maybe if I wasn't thinking like that, I would have took different risks younger, but it probably saved our life. Oh, for because sure. Even though we didn't grow up in the ghetto, we grew up in an area where there was a lot of opportunity to do bad things.
Shit, we had kids pulling up to our junior high. Daddy's ready to fight fucking CT and Money. TC and Money.
They were grown-ups. And these kids are how old? I mean, they were in 9th grade, but how old
14,
were they?
13, 14?
I mean, I felt like they were like real old, because you remember James.
I mean, they're probably older.
You remember James Ward too? He was a real white chocolate. But those three were, like, we had grown men at school. Like, before you got to junior high, when I was a 7th grader, Robert McVeigh, Cody Bivens, Alex Rivera, all of them, they were like grown-ups as freshmen. I don't know if, like, now I see my nephews and they're juniors and seniors and they look like babies.
They still look like,
Like, bro, when I think back of when I was in 5th grade and my sister was a freshman, they really looked like grown-ups. They looked like 401ks, 40 hours a week. But even Robert and them looked grown. And then when we were in freshman year, like those 3 you named, they were grown. Then we had Deshaun and them.
Yep. Mustaches and beards and shit.
Beards. And I always tell people some of the craziest stuff I saw was like junior high. Like high school, it kind of slowed down. Junior high was reckless, but it goes back to making the right decisions because me and you are around so many people that went one way or another. I don't know if it's the same now, but when we were growing up, which we're only in our 30s, but it seems like the cities were kind of connected a little bit. Like I didn't go to the like north side and stuff all the time or anything like that, but like Del City, Moore, Midwest City.
Yeah, we all right here.
Everyone was kind of around each other. And there was a lot of bad stuff going on. Like I said, with fights or something like that. And it's crazy to think of what you pushed through. Because when you got here, you were talking about like just like trauma or other things. Because when we were growing up, I thought anxiety was a fake word.
Me too.
Like when someone say, "Oh, I have anxiety," I was like, "What a bitch."
Yeah. Yep.
Or maybe they get, and this is how sick it is. I shouldn't have thought all these thoughts. Like I'd be like, "What a bitch," or "Oh, they must have like a lot of money or something." Like that doesn't even make sense.
No.
Like someone's got anxiety. Oh, they must be well off and they're just having to try and find something to be upset about or panic about. But thinking back, look at this dude doing calisthenics. Hey, he's getting it.
Yeah, he's just like,
my bad.
That's funny.
But
random.
No, there's a lot of moments where we were getting that heart race moment and we were thinking it was something else.
Yes.
Like I didn't realize it was anxiety till I was probably 27 years old. I didn't go to my first counseling thing till like 28. So I was a grown up before I went to any type of counseling because I just thought growing up around those type of environments or having those feelings was super normal. And it seems almost fake to say this, but like it was like weak. But when I say that, I'm like, I don't even care what people think. No. But I cared what I thought, I guess. So I was like, no, you can't be sad about this or you can't be emotional about this. Like, what are some things you had to work through on that? Because I feel like it snuck up on us and we probably dealt with it our whole life, but suppressed it.
You know, mine, really, I mean, you know me, I'm not a big fighter, you know, and then, you know, it's just some people trying to test you out, you know what I'm saying?
That's the worst part.
You know, and it was like, luckily and probably not luckily, like I learned how to deal with it through sports. And I kind of looked at it like, what a bitch. But like, you know, when you first throw them pads on your freshman year and you're going to go play your first freshman game, like you're out of the junior high, like this is where they say you go to college and you're in the fucking, you got your shoulder pads on, you're waiting in that locker room and it's like, this is the beginning to everything I want to accomplish, you know, and you're getting that heart beating, you're nervous or whatever, but it's like, Little League, it happens, but once the game starts going, I'm fine, you know, and that's how I dealt with it the rest of my life. It's like, I'm nervous about this, but once I do it, it's fine now, you know, I'm cool with it, you know, let's proceed. But now, you know, really taking time to like step back and look and think about these different things, whether it be, you know, we're both adults now, but the first time you make the decision for your girl to move in with you,
it's a big decision,
you know,
especially because, oh my gosh, like we're so much more similar than we talk about because we didn't like to fight because we grew up seeing domestic violence. So we don't like to fight because it means the worst.
Yes.
But we didn't know that as kids. Right. Like when someone wanted to fight and I didn't want to, I was like, oh, I'm being a punk.
Right.
But no, it's just you've been traumatized by so much confrontation in your life that you don't want to deal with it anymore.
Right.
And then you talk about pushing through it in sports. Like that was one of our only coping. Like, oh, well, yeah, when we do this, we get some acceptance. When I think back of basketball, I'm like, why did I play for 20 years straight? Oh, it was because that was the first time I ever got accepted by anyone besides the fam.
Yep, that's a fact.
Like, oh, these people rock with me. Like, and there was still hierarchy. There's still levels of people that didn't mess with you or anything like that. But
absolutely,
it just became such a brotherhood that I feel like helped push us through a lot, because I think you and I had to do a lot of suffering in silence without even knowing it. Like we'd counsel with the friends, and when you look back, you're like, oh, that was therapy. But just dealt with it a lot. Like unstable household, always had enough, but just enough.
Yeah.
And sometimes it was more than enough. But sometimes it was the bare minimum.
Yep.
And that doesn't just mean financial. I just mean like the bare minimum of attention. Like you're taken care of, you're safe, but there's a lot of trauma going on that once you get older and start piecing it together, you're like, yeah, that's kind of messed up. I remember when I went to counseling, their first thing they told me, because I kept minimizing everything, is, and it was group therapy. So that was interesting because we just talked about how we're better one-on-one, but I'm in there with 6 people.
Right.
Is like trauma is trauma. It's not like a measurement.
Right.
It's not like, here's level 1, here's level 2. Oh, you're a level 6 trauma? Wow. Like, no, there's how it impacts each person. And I think we didn't realize how much we were dealing with and how much we were using each other as an outlet, whether it was meeting up regularly to play like 4 games of 2K back to back, which is like 3 hours. And side note, you're like one of the top 2K guys I ever played, which was annoying as hell. You and Adam Morales from Hillsdale, just one of those randoms that y'all like are playing 2K the right way. I'm like, why are you playing 2K the right way? Score 80.
Right.
But you're like, no, pass the ball. But like those little moments, and then like I mentioned earlier, talking on the phone and things, I just didn't realize how much that helped. And when you did that voicemail and you were saying, you know, we need to be there for each other, even if it's just for talking, I just didn't realize how important that was. Like, I didn't know your brothers are what gets you through it all.
Oh, yeah.
Or what people see in you or what people take from you. I'm a guy that takes a little bit from everyone. And something you did for me is you taught me to give people their flowers regularly. And I don't know if you've been able to tell, but the last 4 years since we had that talk, I'm way more upfront with that. And that comes from you. Like, how do you take a piece from each person? Because you always do that. You're so introspective. You're like, oh, well, from Tony, I got this. From Abram, I got this. From you, I got this. Like, how do you do that?
Well, with me, you know, like in that message, it was for both of us, you know, because it was like, you know, whether it's work, whether it's, you know, whatever, keep going. Whether it's this or it's this, keep going, you know. And it's like, I didn't have, and as far as I know, you don't have, I don't have older siblings.
Yeah, well, I just got my big sister, but I didn't have like a brother.
Sister, like a big brother.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, we're supposed to be responsible for laying this foundation for the people under us, as far as younger, as far as, you know, like your nephews and your niece. And now, you know, Aaron's named me his kid's godfather, and now my brothers have kids. So it's just like,
it comes fast.
Yeah. And so it was just like, I'm half black, half Mexican. So it's like, I wasn't black enough to
elite
do this.
combo.
Yeah. I wasn't right. It's like, I'm not black enough to even say nigga, and I'm not Mexican enough to kick it with the Mexicans. But it was like you said, sports was so,
it was like
for me,
a balancing,
yes.
Or not a balancing, it was like a blend.
Yes.
You can blend with the basketball because it's just athletes.
It's just like athleticism. And if you're just superior, that's the only time I felt acknowledged or received, was being superior in athleticism.
I mean, the most diverse groups we're a part of were sports teams.
Right. And so, and then it was just like, okay, I'm accepted by them, but I still didn't have like an older figure to look up to outside of what's in my house, right? And nobody had really taken to me that way. So then, you know, around that time, you had met Devon, and, you know, rest in peace, Aunt Shonda. All that was going on, and you was there for him. And I was like, I've never really known that. Like, we chopped up here.
We were adjacent.
Right.
I wanted you to speak on that. Like, right. How did you, like, what made you, because it was one of those things where you don't know who's watching. Because then you're like, oh no, for the last 3-4 years, I've been taking all that game you gave me. And it was just me being myself, but you're like doing something with it. So when you see the Devon situation with his mother, you're like, oh, I haven't seen someone be there for someone like that. Like, you know how mature you have to be to even see that?
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy to even be able to recognize.
Yeah, but it's just like, I always, you know, whether it's ego or pride, I guess, to an extent, but I've always prided myself on being a good person, even though I don't think I'm a good person. You know, I don't think I'm a perfect person. I think when people say good person, they correlate that with a perfect person. I don't think I'm perfect. I think I'm a decent human being.
But you just always try to do things with the right intentions.
Absolutely. You know, and I'm not going to say I've never did anything wrong in my life, for sure. you know, but it's
we could
just,
go down a list of that.
Right, for sure. But it was just like, I've seen things that I don't like, and I've seen things like people I feel like use me for, whether it be trying to get more playing time in Little League, or trying to get me to talk to the coach for them, or, you know, and then, you know, whenever, whatever it is stops, you never hear from them again, you know. And I knew you were kicking it with Devon, and this was, you know. Like,
you were being a good kid, though, at that time. The reason
sure.
we didn't hang out as much, I think, in high school is I was making very poor decisions.
I mean, you were smoking, right? And that was like, everybody's like, oh no, smoking weed, da, 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 da. You can't go. My mom, you know, you can't go hang out with Zach and Devon. They're going to go smoke. And at this time, she didn't know I probably already smoked twice. You know, I was like, that should feel good. I want to go, you know. And it was therapy somewhat to go smoke and just vibe out to music, or just go outside and lay out and just like
relax.
Yes, just absorb the world. But it was just like, for Zach to not talk so much, and for Zach to be as reserved as he is, for him to be there the way that he's there for Devon in a very serious and crucial moment. And like, I don't have that. And it wasn't like, I hope Zach, I'm going to go and be friends with Zach so he can be that for me. It was just like, I can respect Zach far more than I did before, because the average person isn't going to do that. Like, it's one thing to kick it with somebody and then help them do some shit that's going to get them fucked off in life. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But if Devon coming with you and smoking some blunts and being in a safe environment, because at that time I already knew you to just be like the chill, lay back, like, we're not going to go do some wild shit. Like, come to the crib, we're going to smoke, play some video games, watch a movie, whatever, take a nap, you know, XYZ. You take a nap on the couch, I'm going to go in here and pass out. You know, that was like amazing to me that somebody had the wherewithal at that age to be there for a person. Maybe not the way my mom or most parents would have thought would have been the conventional way, but at that time, I don't think there is really any right or wrong way, especially if it's not to harming someone. Mm-hmm. You need to get your mind off of this.
Yeah.
Not like you're smoking coke or crack or something. Like, nigga, come hit the blunt. Relax, bro. Just being in an environment where you can somewhat be you and cope with it the best way you can, and I'm going to be here for you. Yeah. And that was amazing to me. That was like, I've been picked on, I've been this, I've been that, you know. I don't really get love from the older guys like Brandon and Tilford like I had hoped, or from all these other guys. And it's like, I see that, and that's who I want to be for somebody one day, because I feel like I'm that person. And I'm trying to, but obviously my mom's real controlling on her situation and how she's running her household. And I know Devon's at that time's not used to that kind of, you know what I'm saying? Because my Aunt Shonda, she let them live a life, but she would do anything to protect them. So she kind of let them live and experience things, where my mom has told me, like, because I've never been one to go out like that a lot. And she was like, I think I hurt you or traumatized you because I wouldn't let you just go spend the night at anybody's house. I wouldn't let you just go hang out and do X, Y, and Z. So she just had a different way of raising their kids, you know? So that's why, like, a lot of things to me were like culture shocks, because it's like, bro, you're going to go stay at your friend's house for a week? Like, that's crazy. Like, you've been there for 3 days, you know what I'm saying? Like, I had to get permission, like, Mom, at damn near sophomore, junior, Mom, can I go to Zach's house to play 2K? Or can I go do this? Like, even when we were working at Dick's, I'm already 18, 19, I'm still living at the house. And it's like, hey, Mom, can I go to Zach's? You know, he's going to bring me back. I won't be back later than 10. Like, and I'm 19 at this time, you know? But it's just, man, just recognizing, and that's what just drew me to you, like, going to the gym, and then we got to talk more, and it's just like, he's a real genuine dude, and he stays out the way. It's not like this, we finna go to this house party and kick it for X amount of hours. Like, he's like, hey, I'm here to hoop. I'm gonna smoke when I get home, talk to my, you know, my nephews, whatever, and I'm just chilling, man. And it's just like, that's what I want to be. Like, that's who I am, but I've never seen anybody exemplify that yet, you know. And he makes it look cool, like, not how he dresses, but like, he makes me feel comfortable in being who I am, no matter who the fuck thinks it's boring at Lane. And so it was just like, you and Maurice, because Maurice was the wearing moccasins and doing, the
early
like just
adopter
the
of
crazy
the
shit. You know what I'm saying? We're coming to school in the crazy shit, and everybody's like in the Polo Ralph Lauren with Jordans and jeans, like every other nigga in the world. And Mo's doing his thing, but Mo's getting bitches. Mo's got the girls, bro. And so it's just like, he's just himself, and everybody just loves who he is. He's just authentically chill and doesn't want to do nothing crazy. And he's just like, and it's just like those two people, you and Mo, has showed me how to be comfortable with myself and not feel like I have to be hard or have to be, a thug or running the streets or doing whatever. And it's like, that's why I love and hold y'all in such high regard, because y'all helped show me that it was okay to be me, for sure.
Man, I appreciate that, because it's a recurring theme that people I talk with have those positive recollections to give me. Mm-hmm. So I'm always appreciative of it. For sure. The thing that impresses me, though, is one, of course, I was just being myself. So for you to take that is awesome, because that's going to make me feel good that I was giving an example, kind of like do as I, no, it's the opposite of do as I say, not what I do. It's like, no, I'm just going to lead by action and I won't talk much, but they'll take a lot from it. Mm-hmm. But as an adult, you've done a lot on your own. Like, sure. Not only in the last few years have you bought a house, but before that, you were already on your game as far as really taking care of business. So when you say like being comfortable in your skin, and then you go through that transition at Dick's Sporting Goods and college basketball and all that, like, how did that help you stay on track and keep being yourself through all that? Because that's the only thing I think that's helped me establish myself, whether it's personally or in business, is I try to always be the same. I always try to treat people with the same level of respect. So like, how do you act on your day-to-day that, keeps that in line? Because I feel like that's something you do really well, and you're always taking care of everybody.
One, first and foremost, is probably like the earliest trauma that's ever been put onto me, but it's just like your black and Mexican thing. So people are going to expect you to either be lazy, fuck up, do something stupid, So it's always like, when I meet people or whenever I'm doing whatever I'm doing, I want them to be like, he's a good kid. Like, he's respectable. Yes, sir. No, sir. If we weren't as close as we were, I'd be like, what's up, Mr. Zach? And that's how I address most people, Mr., Mrs., however, and it's just like, when it came to work and school, I'd never known anything different. Cause like I said, like, my mom was so protective over me, and like, you need to lead by example. The only thing I ever really did was football, basketball in school. So it wasn't really nothing outside the norm. And whenever I met you and I met, who was it? Who was there with me? Maybe it was Pete. But it was just like, y'all had already established, because all that took place when we were, I think, freshmen in high school or sophomores when Devon's mom passed. So I
was a sophomore.
Yeah.
No, I would have been a junior, because you all were at Southmore. But y'all were freshmen. So.
Right.
Yeah, I was a junior.
So we're, like, at that point from freshman year on, I was cool in being myself. Like, I probably wouldn't have played basketball if I wasn't comfortable and seen that example through you. Because it's like, all right, well, people I like to kick it with like to go smoke weed, or they like to go get drunk every night, or they like to go do this, that, and the third. And it's just like, I've already seen this blueprint, and I seen like Zach, he's hooping, and he's okay. Now he's working at Dick's. Okay, now he's the supervisor. He was the Berkeley here. Now he's the manager at Champs. And it's like, no matter what people say about people who smoke weed, because we know you smoke, right? But it's just like, there's nothing you can say about Zach when it comes to, he's going to get shit done, and he's always looking to progress. A lot of people associate people that smoke with people that just don't like to do nothing, like sit around the house. But one thing I knew about Zach, them shoes better be them with the right signage, X, Y, and Z. Like, he cared about his job. So when I go places and I'm doing this, or like, I need to be on whatever I'm on because he does this. maybe I'm not smoking. I took a break from smoking at that point. So it's like, because, I'm playing college ball, they swear they're going to drug test us.
I was on the same too.
Right. So it's like, okay, well, all right, what's that doing? Well,
But isn't that crazy to learn from me? But then I'm getting advice from you on where to go for college basketball.
I mean,
like, it's always rotating with everyone I care about. Mm-hmm. It's not always one-sided. And when it is, I'm so comfortable in my own skin that that's fine. I don't want anything back from it. Mm-hmm. But we were working at Dick's Sporting Goods, but then you move up in the ranks pretty quick too and manage your own side. And you're in charge of shipping and all these things. And then you go to college and you're like, no, you should come here. I'm literally coming to watch your game to see where I should go, but I'm 3 years older than you or whatever it is. But and then we start off this episode with saying, you left that voicemail. Mm-hmm. Like, it's really cool to give those lessons to somebody, but to watch them give them back to you just shows that you have the right people in your circle, where a lot of people aren't as blessed. They're alone. Like, luckily I grew up in an area for a long amount of time. Right. I've got a solid group of people I consider brothers that are from all walks of life, but they're all genuine, and I learned lessons from each of them. Like, for you to put me on my path is crazy. I mean, because you stopped going after I started getting in there. You're like, oh, well, I'm going to go do something else. I was like, oh, okay. But then after that, I mean, you lived on your own before me, and I'm older than you. Like, you're like, no, this is my apartment. Oh, I stay here. And I don't think that, people realize all those small milestones that you get from folks. Like you, James, Sydney, Nick, Nico, all them, everyone was living on their own. Like, I wasn't secure enough. I was like too worried about risk. Mm-hmm. But then I ended up taking risks that changed my life, and same for you. Mm-hmm. But it's crazy to go from kids in junior high that barely know each other to get all these lessons along the road. Mm-hmm. And now we've known each other 20 years and we've learned something from each other at all these different seasons. And we're still so young. Like, there's still going to be times we're 50, 60 years old talking about lessons for each other. Absolutely. And I think that's something that more people should seek out. I know in our society now, there's a lot of connection because you can be on social media and have friends all over the world. Absolutely. But also you can be kind of secluded because you can have all those connections right from your house, to where you and I are already kind of reserved, but you can have all these friends, whether you're gaming or just chatting or things virtually. Absolutely. But I think counseling with people, whether it's on the phone or in person, goes a long way, because every person you talk to, they'll end up going through something similar to you or going through something that you can learn from. That's a fact. And I just never wanted to talk about a lot of stuff. Like, I didn't want to talk about the bad times, or I didn't want to talk about how this was hard or how this made me feel or whatever it did. But then a few years ago, when I start having those conversations are being had with me by other folks. Like, you'd be surprised how open someone is when you're just truly open. Right. Whether it's in business on these appointments and I'm meeting people for real estate and I'm so vulnerable and open that they're reciprocating, or with someone like yourself where I haven't seen you in person in a little bit of time, but we've talked, for sure. But I haven't seen you for a little while.
I was at the my house.
Right. And then today it's just clockwork. But that's because of the relationships. Right. I'm huge on relationships and like where they can take you. When you're young, you hear like, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Yep. And your parents always know everybody. Yes. You're like, how do they know everybody? Yes. But then you slowly become a man, and sometimes it's quicker than you expect. Like, we're playing 2K with no bills, but then all of a sudden you're a grown man with a household and you're fending for people. Mm-hmm. It's like that DC Young Fly thing where he's like, everyone's got a plate and you got to cook. And then you're looking for a plate, but you're the chef. And it's like, you don't realize how fast that can happen. But to handle it just shows you what you're capable of. Like, absolutely. God's never going to put you in something you can't handle. Right. And you and I have had different journeys, but learned lessons equal from each other throughout the route. And it's always been love. Like, I have a handful of people that look up to me, but there's a select few like yourself to where it's so genuine. Where it's like, man, you're making me better because you think highly of me. Right. And I think some people could take it different and want to be cocky or, not give a damn.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, cool, you look up to me, I'm just going to do whatever I want anyway.
Right.
But like, I want to be a better person for you, and we're only a few years apart. Like, in the grand scheme, we're the same age.
Right.
Like, and since we grew up in high school, there's always a gap because you're like, no, I was in 7th, you were in this, you were in this, you were in this. But really, we're the same.
Yes.
You know, a few years apart, 90s babies, and we had a lot of similar history with each other, but it's cool to be held to a standard.
Absolutely.
And I think as you grow, if you have the right people around, it really like exponentially grows on how you want to hold yourself. Like, you don't want to be doing things, and it's not even about like reputation or image or what people think of you, but you don't want to be doing things that are bringing down your internal worth if you set up higher bar from yourself.
Absolutely.
Like, I read a motivational book. I try to do it every day, but sometimes I slip, and it's just a men's motivational. You go to the date and just read it. And one of them was, I love myself, I honor myself, I trust myself, I value myself. And that's something I write on my calendar. And it's simple, but it's like, no, how can you be an example for anyone if you're not happy with yourself, if you're not okay with how you operate, whether it is business, whether it's a life, whether it's what you did that day, whether it's your diet, whatever. I mean, you and I have been, if we go the physical side, you and I have been in shape for the last 15 years or more. Easily. And anytime we get off track, we get locked back in. Mentally, we've only grown. That's the cool thing, because we have other friends, or we know people that are older than us that are 38 or 40s that were kind of the OGs to us growing up, whether it was hooping or some type of community, to where they're like still in those ruts. And you're like, oh no, like, you were cool when you were 24 and I was 14, but damn, you're the same and I'm 31 years old. Like, you realize that not everyone progresses. Or some people have bad habits that really, you know, slow them down. One or two choices could go another direction.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you ever think about that? Like, is that why you're such a good person? Is because you hold yourself accountable, or you check in with yourself, or how does that work?
Me, I've seen a lot of bad things happen from people that are too ambitious. You know,
what do you mean?
I think
like people that want
they want, whether it's money, whether it's a relationship, a person. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're so stressed out or killing yourself damn near to try to attain this thing or maintain a lifestyle or do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, I'm never content, but I always I always understand that I'm blessed and I appreciate it, because, you know, I've had multiple friends we went to school with that aren't here anymore. You know, we said, you know, RIP Cornell, RIP Shelvin, RIP, you know, Rudy Escalera. He was on my little league football team. I'll never forget the pass I threw to you against the Raiders, 60-yard bomb, baby. Different things.
I can give
like
you some
that.
sad stories from little league football.
Right. And it's just like, man, it's like, I'm just happy that I'm here and that, like, you know, like, we can do this right now. You know, like my grandma, she called me 2 days ago and was like, I'm going to put you on my life insurance policy, And it's like, when you start thinking about those things, it's like, I don't know life without you. And now you're finna turn 70. So I understand you're trying to get your affairs in order. When you really start trying to process these different things, and it's just like, I'm blessed to have had a grandma this long. Because
they're old to you when you're born.
Right.
When you're born and they're your grandma or grandpa, they're old to you.
Right.
Like my grandparents last Christmas, last Christmas, we had our first death talk, where on my mom's side of the family, they don't talk about death. Right. They like hide it, and it's kind of traumatizing. They're like more hiding it and not really talking about stuff. But on my dad's side, on Christmas, like we had a talk, and there's 20 of us in the house, and they're like, hey, like, so-and-so's in charge of this, so-and-so gets this. You all go through and put some notes on some stuff on the back that you want, and in 5 years, if something happens, it'll be yours or whatever. But you don't realize, like, my grandparents are in their 80s now. And I still remember being 6 or 7 years old at the Target parking lot in Midwest City off Reno, which anyone from the Dub is going to know exactly what I'm talking about. But my grandpa was pushing me in a cart, let me go to go fast, you know, because it's a downhill parking lot, and he's just running next to me. He was old then, but I remember that memory. And you don't realize, like, you're only in people's lives for a certain amount of time. Like those friends we lost, we had them for the time they were supposed to be here. Right. Like the first person I lost big was Nick Williams. And that was my first close friend I lost, where I was like, oh, this is real. Because we grew up, like I said, in an area that wasn't too ghetto. Like Moore is nice. There was just kind of some ghetto activities, but it wasn't like people getting shot. Right. I mean, it was pretty safe. Yeah. There's other areas of the city where people lost 6 or 7 friends by the time they were 12. Yep. I remember meeting Brandon Hayward, the one from New Orleans. He was the first person, by the way. Him and Moody were the first 2 people that said they could rap out of the 1,000 people that told me they could rap, that could actually really rap. I was like, oh, these people can rap. Yeah. I remember Brandon rapping on our intercom at Southmore. Yep. And I was like, dang, this guy's a killer. But
for the football game.
For the football game. Yep. And something crazy about him, speaking of you never know what you get from somebody. You remember when I lived at that house on Shields? That's when we hung out quite a bit. He came over one day and he said, and it was right after Nick died, and something I value about myself, and I feel like it's a trait of yours too, is we have that individual relationship with people. I have a group of friends, and say we go to them right now and there's 20 people. There's a relationship with each one, actually. Like, it's not just a group. It's like, no, I rock with David because of X, Y, and Z. Tilford because X, Y, and Z. James, X, Y, and Z. Like, there's these connections. Brandon comes over, and he's like, I just wanted to come by and spend some time with you because I know you lost your friend and all of that. He was pushing me on the keep going then, because he said, but don't get stagnant. Like, be a better version of yourself for him. And he said, and not in a negative way. He didn't mean it like, forget it. He was like, where I'm from, I lost 12 people by when I was 12. Like, I saw multiple people get shot in person. And not to minimize what I was going through, but to make me have that mindset you had, which I try to value today, is be grateful. See the blessings you have. He's like, yes, you lost a best friend. It was his time to go, unfortunately. It wasn't natural, but it is what it is. Right. But don't dishonor it. Take it, level up, always show love, but don't get stagnant on it. And it's just, you never know what you'll learn from somebody. Absolutely. And when you said be grateful, like, that's something I think not only people that do a certain type of job, or they're an entrepreneur, or they own a certain business, whatever it is, everyone's going through that journey, and you could easily get stuck in just comparing instead of just being grateful that you're driving to your house. Like, people wouldn't believe that it's so crazy that me and you own a house. I know that's very simple. Like, owning a house is simple. But we didn't grow up with necessarily all the ownership. Like, yes, my mom bought our house and more, but it wasn't like that real ownership where we were seeing people buy property regularly or anything like that. Like, I didn't even think it was possible. Like, I was like, you can make that? And then I get approved and buy a house. Same for you. You're like, well, I'm going to see where I'm at. And then it's like, oh no, you're qualified. Right. It's like, we're qualified. Right. So I always joke about, like, I can't believe I'm just a grown up kid. Like, I'm like, where's the supervision? Like, I'm just making all my choices, but you don't realize what you're capable of. Like, you have to be grateful for that. Like, having a roof over your head, having luxuries, being able to eat every day, drink every day, take a shower, provide for others, be an example for the ones that come after you and the ones that were before you, even being an example for your mother or your father or your aunt or your uncle or your grandma, whoever. Because my grandparents will say something that they admire about me, and you're like, no, you're 58 years older than me. It's supposed to be admiration the other way. But it's like, no. If you're grateful, if you take your blessings, if you're an actual good person where you genuinely care for the actions you're doing, it's going to come back. Like, the fact that you say you sit there and think of the blessings as you're continuing to push forward is something a lot of people, I think, fall short of, to where they could be making $1 million, but it's not going to be enough.
Yes, sir.
Like, they're always going to think, well, does this person see my new tattoo? Or does this person see my new car? Or does this person see that I got Louis Vuitton drawers on? Or
Right.
like, there's all these things. And I think when you get past that, which luckily you and I had sparse moments about it, where there's definitely times we thought we needed something specific, like a Nike hoodie or whatever.
Hoop shoes.
That was probably like my guilty pleasure where I was like, no, I got to have nice shoes.
I'll never forget those Kobe's that you got customized.
For Nick. Yeah, I still got them in my closet. And they're just, it's so funny because you tell how you play. They're just like worn in certain areas of the shoe. But it's just like that. Like, it really doesn't matter. And that's something I've always admired about you, especially as adults. As kids, we're all just trying to make it.
For sure.
But as an adult, you've always carved your own path. And you really, even though there's been people that have helped you, I've always seen you as a guy that just made it happen himself. Because you're like, no, I'm going to work at Tinker. I'm going to get a grown-up job. Like, you had a grown-up job before I had a grown-up job. And you're like, no, I make X amount of hour. I work this type of job. I've moved up X amount of times. I didn't know that stability. Like, I didn't know that you were supposed to do that. And then to see you always hold yourself to a high standard, even though you came from a background with mixed standards, like, it's kind of motivating. Not just for me, but for anyone listening or the people you've come into contact with in the world. They've got to feel that. Like,
for sure. And I think, you know, being the whole half Mexican thing, like, you get told, like, we just work.
Yeah.
Like, we just get to it. Like, no matter what, you know. And so, you know, I go from Dick's where I don't even get $1 raise in 4 years.
Which is crazy because they make you seem like you're really integral. Like, you were showing love with the supervisor job, but I was barely making more than the person that wasn't doing nothing.
Right.
And then you got responsibility.
Right. And then, you know, I go on to be, you know, an assistant manager at Champs, and it's still $975 plus commission. So I went from $925 to $975 plus commission. But at least shit, I'm getting some bread off of something I'm selling. Y'all making me do these whole damn foot exams in the back off the treadmills and X, Y, and Z.
Gait analysis.
Yeah,
like, why do we know all this? Like,
yes.
Are you pronating? Are you supernating?
Like, yes.
It's crazy too. Right. Like, bro, I didn't even know that, like, the Brooks Cadence were a good running shoe. And, like, I play tennis sometimes with my wife, and I wear these Asics that I like a lot. But it's funny, I would have never worn those.
Ever.
But you talk about those, like, that's another thing to where you have to have goals for yourself, because we're in these, quote, manager positions at shoe stores at the mall, which when you're 18 to 21, it's kind of a lit job. It's kind of cool. Yeah. Like, your friends come up and you're chilling and you got fresh kicks, and then you can give them the J's or
plug me in.
Like, it's kind of a cool job for a hooper, I feel like. Maybe other sports people too, but for the hoopers, it's kind of a cool job. But then you realize, oh, I make $10.25, but I'm in charge of 20, 30 grand a day, and I've got all these responsibilities, but I'm making $800 every 2 weeks or $400 every 2 weeks or whatever. And you're like, this isn't equating. And that's when you start bossing up and trying to do something for yourself. And that's why you have to go to a grown-up style job. Yeah. Like, what was it from Champs that you went to Tinker and you're like, no, I just got to do better?
Yeah, no, for a fact. Because, you know, I wouldn't say necessarily I was thugging it, just because I'm, for the most part, always been low maintenance. You know, like, we weren't the big, we're going to go get Jordans when they drop family. It was like, you know, like, my 8th grade hoop shoes were red and white Pumas from Shoe Carnival, you know? Or, no, that was 7th grade. 8th grade, something happened to my shoes, and I wore just some high-top white Reeboks from Shoe Carnival.
Well, you only got one a year.
Yep, and that's a fact. You know what I'm saying? Then you got the kid, but
I got to shout out my mom, though, real quick, because for how broke we were, that one pair of shoes a year for basketball, I did get some nice ones. I luckily did never have to hoop in trash. Like, I remember she bought me those Mellows. What are they, 1.5s or whatever, with the little circles on the side, and they were baby blue. They're like $125, which now that'd be like $225. Yeah. But to have those in 8th grade for basketball shoes was crazy, and they didn't match. I had blue and yellow shoes at Highland West, but I was like, no, these are cold. Right. But even that, you don't, like, I didn't think, oh, and now I need 6 more. Right. It's like, no, I've got these ones, and I clean them all the time, and
Yeah, my mom, she, you know, and I won't, you know, like when it came to football, freshman year, she got me some Jordan cleats. And I think like the year before that for Christmas, she got me like these one pair of Mellows that looked like 12s. Looked like some retro 12s.
I think I know which ones you're. So it was probably the ones after what I had.
And, you know, went to the pool because, you know, my mom was like, dude, don't be doing this and don't be playing basketball. Went to the pool, tried to look fresh, pulling up to the Moore community pool for, you know, shout out to the Moore pool.
Shout out the Hot Pockets there for $2.
Yes, bro.
Burn your mouth, but it was like, why are these Hot Pockets better than the 20 I have in my freezer?
Amazing. Not the name brand Hot Pockets.
That was some random. They were just pockets.
Yes, they were just pockets.
There was no name on them. You'd be like, do you want the ham and cheese or the pepperoni?
Mm-hmm. But man, everybody knows. I think I had like a towel over them and our stuff. We were out there from the house and somebody snagged my hoop shoes, you know, or snagged my shoes.
That theft at that age.
Yes,
man,
bro, it was crazy.
It's hard as an adult to get something stolen, but man, like, oh, that's gotta suck.
Oh, it did. And you know, it was just like we did all these things, and like I was saying, I'm low maintenance, so it was just like my rent was like $400 or $500 a month, and I was making about $500 a month up there at Champ. So it's like I'm giving one of my checks completely to rent. The other one I'm using for weed and food for the rest.
Trying to make it, because $500 for a month of food is not a lot of money.
It's not. But I've always been the same. Like to this day, like I could eat pizza rolls and breakfast toasters every day and be fine. Like that's just how I am. There's some like, you know, nobody can convince me that what people consider poverty meals aren't good. Like you should eat it, and they're like, yes. I get that I should eat healthier, but like, bro, I'm cool with eating spaghetti and then like eating that for like the next 2-3 days, like if it's leftovers. Like,
well, I'm big on leftovers. I have been bougie on my quality though for the last few years.
I understand.
I was at my grandpa's. They're like, come eat. And my cousin's like, come on, let's eat. And I was like, bro, I'm not even about to get into that.
Right.
Like I always tell mom on a diet because I am always eating healthy, but I just tell mom I'm cutting.
Yeah.
I'm not cutting nothing, but I'm like, I'm cutting that. I can't. Yeah. My dad's like, you can't eat that? I was like, nah, I can't eat that. I want to, but it don't make me feel good. And I want to work out tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And I just don't like putting poison in my body.
That would have been cool at 18 where it didn't matter and we can just go and, you know. But, you know, once Tinker came around, at this point, I'm not saying I'm smoking heavy. Because at this point, like, and shout out my boy Aaron, like, the blunts he rolled and then he taught me to roll because I couldn't roll were like about the size of pixie sticks, like this fucking big.
Longevity.
Yeah, and that's how it was. Like, bro, we could roll a half a gram, and we make it a whole blunt. You feel me? And fucking that's how we was smoking though. And I was like, I was big on like not raising my tolerance, so I smoke half a joint, smoke till I feel it, and then put it out, and just not keep smoking. And then that way because I'm at $500 for the next month, damn near. But then Tinker,
is that when you had the Norman apartment?
Yeah.
Okay, I remember that one.
And so my mom's like, hey, you need to stop smoking. I'm like, why? And she was like, well, such and such said that he can get you a job up here, you know, but they're going to drug test you. And I'm like, all right, cool, whatever.
Which when we were young, that was like, avoid at all costs.
At all costs, no matter what.
Like, no, don't give the man your piss.
At all, at all, bro, at all. You're like typing in like jobs that don't drug test, like when you Google shit. And so it's just like, fuck, all right. And so it's like, so bro, no lie, right? And it's just because it was just like, I'm not doing bad, but at some point I just have to fucking grow up.
Yeah.
I have to grow up. Like, yeah, this is cool. I got my PlayStation. I got this big ass. Well, I didn't even get that till. So I had this little like 30-inch TV, maybe 27 inches. And I'm cool with that. I got Wi-Fi. I have a PlayStation. I can play 2K, all that shit, all I want to. I got about an 8th that'll last me a week because I don't smoke that often. I don't smoke the whole thing. And I got some food. I got Hot Pockets and shit. And I'm cool like that, bro. Like I'm cool.
This is a good system.
Right. Like we operating. Like,
and you were working at Sooner Mall, so you're a mile from your job.
Right. Like if my car fucked up, I can literally walk over the bridge and go to work.
Because it was off Main. Or Lindsay.
Yeah. So it's just like, all right, cool. You know, and it's funny, man. Oh man, I got so many stories I wanted to tell you that led up to that apartment. But maybe I'll get into that in a second. But we're doing all that. You know, I got fired from Dick's. And then, you know, Aaron had got fired from Dick's at one point. Wow. And so we're just like, fuck, bro. I just remember I remember like we had talked about it. I got fired. We kind of didn't link up for a while, and then I had a fight with my mom, and I was like, bro, can I come stay with you? And he drove from Norman, got in the car, smoking the L, picked me up, and drove me back to his house. And this is the origin story of how I got to this apartment. And I'm on the couch, bro, just like fucking, like I was crying in his car, you know.
Going through it.
Yeah, it was just like, bro, I just, you know, whatever was going on. And like, bro would wake up, I'm sleeping on the couch. He'd wake up every morning while he was still at Dick's before he got fired. He'd give me like 2-3 grams, put it on the little thing we had on the ottoman, and go to work every day. And he'd come home and he'd cook us both food. And that's like things like you have done for me, whether you know it or not know it. And like that situation, like I love y'all. Because like not everybody's gonna do that. No, everybody's gonna be like, bro, you're not bringing nothing into this house. Like you ain't giving me money. What am I? I'm gonna give you some weed and I'm gonna cook for you when I get home. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. And from that day forward, I love that dude. No matter what goes on, I'm always there for him.
everyone comes on hard times. Like there's always a time you needed a handout, and I think as long as you're genuine, you get it. So you got to pay it forward. I mean, today I was in Moore showing a house, and I see this kid at a lemonade stand. I was like, it's 100 degrees. So I just gave him a 10, and they're like, we don't have change. I was like, well, let me get a couple of those quarters so I can go play pool later or something. And they're like, okay, you can have a couple quarters. And then they just kept it. I said, I can't drink the lemonade, and just drove off. So she just got some money, but like, I would want someone to help me out. I mean, when I did need help, there was always people that would help me out. Like I remember one time going to Tez's house when I first got into real estate because he told me to, and I was getting really like hitting a lot of hurdles. And I'm trying to leave, and he's like shoving $20 in my pocket. And he says, and that sounds crazy. Like it sounds crazy to say that 2017, my friend was trying to shove $20 into my pocket because he knew I wouldn't take it. And he's like, just take this. Like he's like having to be forceful, and it's $20.
Yeah.
But it goes a long way when you're broke.
Yeah.
And it's just insane, those people that look out. Like AO, he looked out for you because you had a genuine relationship. Now, every relationship doesn't have to be like helping me at rock bottom, but it does create something different as far as a bond when times were tough. Because you've helped me when I was low. I've helped you when you were low. And there's been other times that someone's helped us. So he steps in, helps you, you're there, and then you transition into staying there.
Yep.
When do you get into Tinker? Is that right after?
No, I get my job at Champs for about a year.
Yeah, you just got fired from Dick's.
Yeah, so then I get that job. Crazy out there. Like, you got fired as a regular employee. We'll hire you as an assistant manager over here. For stealing. For stealing at Dick's. I can't say that on camera, but let's just say I made a word for my while after they fired me.
Oh, geez.
For sure. Shout out. But so then I get there and I'm working there for a year. My mom makes that phone call. She's like, you need to stop. So, bro, for no lie, bro, for like a month and a half, maybe 2, bro, I'm drinking nothing but half emptied water bottles. The rest is filled with apple cider vinegar.
Oh, dang.
And that's when my mom like swears like my grandma or somebody told her gets it out your system.
So it would have just got out naturally in a month, though.
I didn't find it out.
You're drinking chemicals.
Right, bro. So I'm drinking
apple cider vinegar is good for you, but dang, half and half is crazy.
Half, bro. So I'm sitting there.
Shit was sour.
Bro. And then you expect me, at the time, there's this girl that works there that I'm into, you know. And
at Champs?
Yes. And then, you know, there's customers and I'm just hot apple cider vinegar everywhere, bro. So I'm just out here for like the next 2 months out here with the hot breath, trying to be like, yeah, what you need those in the 12? You know, I'm covering my mouth for the audio listeners, you know, trying to speak to these people, covering my mouth, or, you know, they're pointing at these shoes and I'm trying to, yeah, I can get these for you. We got them in the back, just doing everything I can not to talk to them. So I finally get that phone call, bro. Craziest shit ever. He's like, hey, I didn't recognize the number. So I'm just like, all right, it's probably, you know, your car's extended warranty is about to run out.
Yeah.
So,
well, that was before you owned a house. So you got less spam calls.
Right.
Now you probably get blown up.
Bro, it's crazy. So my mom calls me and she's like, stupid, answer the phone. It's from Tinker. It's going to be your boss.
Your mom's hilarious, by the way.
I love her.
Like, if anyone ever had an issue with someone being direct, you need to go spend some time with Irma.
Fact.
So you can toughen up.
Fact, bro. Fact. 100%.
So you can toughen up.
That's why the people at her job, they love and hate her. Because they just
she's a boss.
Keep it blood. Yeah. So he calls me. He's like, hey, man, my name's Tony Whitmire. I would like to what would you think about working up here at Tinker Air Force Base? I said, I love it, sir. I said, I'm going to be honest, you know, I'm not gonna, as long as I'm making more money up there than I am here, I'll work about anywhere. And he was like, all right. He said, we can work with that. He was like, you know how much money you'll be making? I was like, my mom said probably somewhere around $17, $18. I said, which is double what I'm making here. So I'm not no complaint. He's like, nah. He was like, that's kitty money. He was like, you'll be starting off for about, I think he said like $19.75 an hour. And I was like, well, shit. All right. And he was like, so there's no guarantee that you'll be starting immediately. It might take a week. It might take 30 days. It might take 60 days. So my stupid ass is like, bet.
I'm quitting tomorrow.
I'm like, I'm finna smoke as soon as I get home. I was like, I'm going.
Oh, because you had time before the drug test.
Right. Bro, if them motherfuckers did not call me the day after and say, you'll be coming in, do your drug test and everything next week, and we'll start getting you processed. I've already smoked like 9 blunts the day before, and I'm like, oh my God. Now it's back to apple cider vinegar and water. And I'm chugging them. I failed 2 drug tests the night before, at-home drug tests from CVS. I go there. They don't drug test me.
They say, we trust you.
All right.
That's crazy.
I get home after doing the whole physical thing. I'm like, Dad, they ain't even drug testing me. I was worried, you know, trying to figure this out about those for nothing. They call me at like 6 or 7. They're like, oh, yeah, we forgot your drug test. Can you be up here tomorrow? It's like, all right, cool. Go up there the next day. I'm going to keep going through the process. I'm waiting for them to call me and be like, your test came back dirty, you know. And 6 years later, you know, I'm at Tinker.
Still going
strong. Bought a house, bought a car, you know.
Well, your car is nice, by the way. I hadn't seen it yet.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I was like, are you in this? And you're like, yeah. I'm like, oh. Yeah, not that you didn't have a nice car before, but to buy your first house and then buy your first car, like, not your first, but like adult purchases.
Yeah. Like no help.
They go a long way. It kind of be shocking you.
For sure. Because like my grandparents bought my caddy under theirs. It was $10,000. And, you know, I was paying $1,000 a month because I was making, when I first started at Tinker, I had the Dodge Stratus. So my grandparents were like, you're putting too much money. Like, yeah, keep having to fix that car. And so they bought that. And, you know, my grandparents are loving to death. I know there was only with love in their heart. They're caddy people. So, of course, they give me the grandma.
The big body.
Yeah.
My grandma had one of those too.
With the coffee.
You know who else had one of those? The cleanest one ever.
Ooh.
Big A.
Oh,
he had the coffee one.
Yes,
the brown with the black rims.
Yep. And so, you know, I have that. I'm making more money. I know what to do with it at this point because I went from making $1,000 a month to $3,000 a month, you know. So now it's like, I can't smoke no more. So it's just like I'm paying $1,000 a month on this car.
Which you could have went wrong direction and started blowing money, but you stayed locked in.
I did for a little bit.
You did?
I ain't gonna lie to you.
Okay.
I had like, and it's funny because I realized it quick. I bought like 3 or 4 pairs of Yeezys. You know, was ordering clothes, but it's just like, no man, you don't go nowhere. Like you don't. What you gonna do? Go to the gym in the fly shoes to take them off to put on your Hooper shoes to go get buckets and go. So, you know, I got shoes in my closet right now that I haven't worn in years. That's 6, 7 years. Unless me and my girl are doing something on a special occasion, I might, you know, shout out to Kendrick, pop out and show niggas. But
I remember I got into real estate and then I just sold probably 80% of my Jordans. Mm-hmm. Which, when I look back, I'm like, why was I even collecting them anyway? But at the time when you're working at a shoe store and you're in the hoop culture, it's like a thing to have different J's. But I remember selling like some ones I classified as like a lot of heat, whether they were 11s or 6s, or the only ones I never sold were my first Jordans I ever bought, which were some Raptor 7s. Dalen took me, he was like, you camp out and then you get these. Like he was my first time ever learning how to buy a Jordan.
Shout out to
but I passed, like I just sold all those and then life just got simpler, not just off of selling those. But I just like, once I got into a grown-up job and realized what I really wanted to spend my money on, it wasn't shoes and clothes. Now, if I need something, I'm happy with it. But it just was cool when other stuff made more sense. Like, oh, well, let me pay an extra payment here, or let me try to invest here, or okay, now I can bless myself. But me and you are similar to where you may do all this hard work and then blessing yourself is like $100.
That's it, bro.
And you're like, no, I feel good about it. Like the other day, bro, I was happy because I bought a pack of tank tops, and it's been a long time since I had a pack of tank tops because I just wasn't wearing them, but I needed them for a button-up summer fit that I was doing for some pictures. And I was like, oh, it's a fresh tank top. Like, feel pretty fresh. And I'm like, bro, it's an $8 tank top. Like, you bought a pack of 3. But I remember when you had to go to Marshall's and like hope that they had the polo shirts on sale and you can get 3 of them for $20 and then make that last for like the summer. Yeah. Like, no, I get 3 white tees, 1 to mess up, 2 to be clean. Like, so it's crazy to grow and not minimize and like be not treating yourself, but to realize what treating yourself means to you. And treating yourself may be making sure that everything's good and then spoiling a little on something.
Bro, I'm like, my thing, it's bad, but like, I'm so ghetto somewhat on this. My thing is I get sweet teas from Sonic. I Uber Eats some sweet teas, right?
Uber Eats some sweet teas.
Right, that's it. That's it, bro. That's it. There's like 8 of them, right? But 4 cups are of ice. The other 4 are sweet teas. Because they usually, the ice will melt. So I just pour like half of the sweet tea in this one, and that way I have like 8 drinks. And that's like my thing now. And then like an Amazon Prime movie. Like me and my girl, we've been going to theaters a lot, but it's just like.
What have you seen recently you liked?
Oof, that I've liked recently. That is great.
Oh, I haven't been to the movies.
That new Bad Boys movie is amazing.
Really?
Ride or Die. It is, I'm like, Johnny Tapia Bad Boys 2 great. Like, it is amazing.
No way.
It is amazing,
really,
bro.
Johnny Tapia though?
It is great, bro.
Oh man, Bad Boys 2 is the one.
And Reggie, all that hell we gave Reggie for Reggie, one of the ones.
Wow.
You gotta watch it, bro. It's like one of the best. Like, if you grew up in that era of movies, I'm just saying, like, you know, my mom, she was just like, hey, want to go watch Bad Boys Ride or Die? And
that's cool to just go to the movies with your mom.
And we've done it a couple times, you know, and it's just like, okay, cool.
That intentional time is cool.
Right. So she picks me up. We go to some movie theater in the hood. And and they're like, you know.
Your mom is hilarious.
And then this is like I knew we was in the hood because they ain't have no air conditioning.
It's just a hot theater?
Yes, bro. You know the theaters.
Where were you at?
Cold as hell. Iconic theaters, iconic cinema, bro. You know, so we're in there, bro. It's warm. Like, most of the time, me and my girl will go in there. We're in sweats. When we go to Warren, we got sweats all the time, right? And it's funny. I'm a little bougie. I don't do the common seating. I'm a director suite type of guy now. You know, I make money now, Jack. So, you know, we pay $25.
I respect it.
You know, so it's like, I'm not paying $10 to sit around 120 people that are going to be laughing loudly. Like, now we sit where there's like 30 people. I press a button. They come ask me if I want some alcohol or food. You know, it's about, It's
funny. It's the little luxuries.
Bro, it is. But we went and watched that, bro. And it was just like nostalgic while also being kind of new. And then, you know, they bring the Reggie character from.
But actually good.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, that's one of the few movies I would buy, even though I've already seen it. Most of the time, like the Godzilla and Kong, I bought it because it was on Prime and it was like just out of theaters. I like that a lot too, but I hadn't seen it, so I bought it. So I bought a lot of movies that are trash. It was just like.
You still on the anime too?
I love anime. Love anime, man.
What's the one you on right now?
Kaiju number 8.
What is it?
Kaiju number 8.
Kaiju?
Yeah.
I'm behind on all that because, you know, I don't spend a lot of time watching stuff. I just suck at it. But the last one I watched was Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop's fine.
I'm busy, but I have time to watch stuff. It
just depends on what you're into, man. Like, I grew up in the Dragon Ball Z era.
Me too.
You know, and so it was like kind of maintaining that. But I think and it's funny because I think this is where my inner child comes in. It's just like, I always felt like I was the underdog, or, you know, kind of how we were talking about, you know. Yeah. And so these characters, like,
that are working hard.
Yeah, this dude, okay, for Kaiju number 8, for example, this guy's like 32.
Okay.
And there's these big monsters called Kaiju that come out. And they, at one point in time when he was a kid, they like, one of them stepped and killed like a bunch of kids in his school. Dang. Right. Big monsters. And so he told this girl, like, we're going to go and be a part of the Kaiju Defense Force. And, we're going to get rid of all of them. Well, this girl ends up being like a captain on the defense force, and all his job is, like, he just is basically the cleanup crew. After they kill him, he comes in there and dissects the body, chops them up so they can get processed. And this is like his last chance to make it on the Kaiju Defense Force. I think you age out, or
Dang.
how many times you've been at. So long story short, there's some new kid, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to be on the Defense Force team one day, da-da-da. And the kid don't really respect him like that. So a kaiju pops out of there. He's walking away and telling him, like, hey, man, you have a good day. Well, a kaiju pops out and is about to swallow him pretty much. So the old dude tackles him out the way. And he's like, run and go get help. So dude's running for his life, whatever. And long story short, the kaiju defense force shows up, kills the kaiju. They're both in the hospital. Where he's talking to him, and the kid was like, that didn't like him. He's like, I just want to say you were cool today. Like, that was really cool what you did. And he's like, I don't think you should give up, but if you do give up, I don't care. And so the dude's like sitting there, and he's like, I'm going to give it one more try. Whatever, starts going on a monologue. And he has his hand up in front of his face, and he sees something like wings flapping in the background, and he moves it, and it's like a little kaiju. Well, it flies into his mouth, and he ends up becoming like half human, half kaiju now.
Wow.
And like,
see,
the
this
story
is why I
progresses
can't
from
keep
there.
up with some of them.
Right.
It's
a lot, but like the stories are just so interesting, but it's just like, I kind of see myself in a lot of the characters just in perseverance, and like, you feel like you're the lowest of the low, or you feel like you and your family may not be like other families, and then you work hard and achieve like this top tier goal. Yeah. Like buying a house, my mom is the first one, or I'm the first one to buy a house outside of my grandparents, So like, it's just like, and even though, I had this conversation with my mom, and she may not realize it, or maybe I just took it the wrong way, because sometimes I'm real particular on how people say things to me.
Well, you can't fix how you take stuff sometimes.
Right. And so it was, the first one, I think it was my dad, and I was playing in Hillsdale. I hit my back real hard on the wall. Bam. And I was walking funny because it was just like my tailbone hit it. And he was like, hey, man, don't kill yourself out here. It's not worth it. Like, this don't mean nothing. And that kind of like killed me.
Oh, you're like, dang, I thought it was everything I needed.
I thought this is still my dream to play sports. Like, I know I can still play, but you saying that on this stage, it's just like, and that's probably when I left, when you were coming in, but then my mom at one point, and she said it's not how she meant to say it, but she was just like, I invested all this money in sports, and what did y'all do with it? Like, none of y'all went to get a scholarship, none of y'all, pretty much. And I was like, and I took it like, dang, I thought it was just like a thing because your kids love to do it, and she said like that wasn't meant like that, but that's just how I took it at the time. Mm-hmm. And so that's why me buying a house was such a big thing, and you being a part of it, because it's like, he sells houses.
Which was an awesome experience. I appreciate you allowing that.
No, for sure. I appreciate it, man, because it's just like, I'm going to be the first one out of my parents and brothers to buy a house. Like, yeah, I didn't make it to the NBA or the NFL. And a lot of people don't dream of that.
Well, you think that's it.
Right.
You think that's like the only goal.
Yeah. That is all or nothing. Mm-hmm. But then it's just like, now I bought a house, like, what can you say now? Like, yeah, I didn't achieve millions, right? But I've went to 5 elementary schools in my life. I went to 2 high schools. I've lived in Liberal, Alva, Guyman, Goodwill as a kid, not as an adult. If you had an adult, I've lived in Oklahoma City now, in Norman, but having stability, it was kind of like that. Not so much to spite my mom, but it's just like, yeah, you may have felt like you wasted your money when it came to those things, but the knowledge and the things that you told me when it came to like, you need to buy a house, like you need to do this, and this, I did that. Like, so yeah, I may not have been able to achieve the millions plus the house and ownership, but I achieved one of the two, and so that's kind of.
And you still got a long way to go.
Right. And so that's why, like, just the anime, I just feel like we tie in because it's often the guy that thinks lowly of himself or is born into a situation that is not favorable, and then they end up making something out of their life. It's just different versions of that in a lot of different animes, so.
Well, everyone finds something that gives them that inspiration, whether it's podcasts, anime, certain movies, audio books, a person they talk to. There's always something that gives you a message to keep pushing through to keep going. And it's always what tailors to you best. So for you see that anime and it really helps you stay on track, to where someone else, they may have to see something else or hear something else, or they come from a family that does certain things that keeps them on track. There's just so many ways to get inspired. So I always think it's cool to see what, makes people tick on that, because that's what's something that entertains you, but also things that teach you. And I don't think you realize how much that stuff means to you. Not just what you watch, but just things you consume that shape you.
For sure.
Because you're not going to just listen to trash all day.
No.
And you're not going to watch trash all day. Like, you have to watch what you consume. I mean, they always talk about like your mental diet. And I think that's something you've always held real accountable for yourself, is not allowing outside forces to kind of dictate how you act. Now, it doesn't mean you're blind or stupid to seeing all these things, but you take in what's important and what applies to you and what can benefit you, and then kind of leave the rest on the side. Absolutely. Where a lot of people get stuck trying to bounce between them all. But that's something I've admired about you forever. I mean, that's probably got to be the determining factor for us, is the standard you set for yourself, which I think is really cool.
No, I appreciate it. And I mean, again, man, a lot of it is like when I get in tough times or when I do whatever, like, I don't even know the right word. There's a word for it, but it's just like, what would Zach do? How would Mo and them react? Like, I face adversity a lot, and sometimes I still don't think it's me who's capable of doing a lot of these things as it goes on.
Takes the tribe.
Right. It's just like, yeah, you bought a house, but it's just like, I bought a house because I seen Zach buy a house. And that's the guy I look up to. So now it's like, okay, make that phone call. Okay, he says I'm approved. Like, I can really do this now, Which
it was fairly quick, too. You got your house within probably 45 days of calling me, which is pretty fast. You got approved within a week. We looked at a house for maybe a week or a week and a half, and then we got a contract accepted and we started going through the process where, I mean, we come from such a diverse background with each other, but then to have that serious role, because those are grown-up conversations of, David, here's this, this, and this, make your decision. And then we push through it. But I'm thankful for not only the words you've given me today, because no matter if we're talking on a podcast or just catching up on the phone, it's like we forcefully give each other flowers. And it's not just between me and you. Like, we do that with everyone we care about. Like, hey, how you been? All cool. Yeah, what you been up to? Oh, by the way, you're important. You're enough. You mean a lot. Don't let the world hold you back. You can do whatever you want. Keep going. And I think that means a lot. So, man, I just really appreciate you. I love you, man. Thank you for coming on here. Yes, and I'm going to get you on again, but I appreciate you, bro.
Sure, of course. I got many more stories with me and Zach, but I appreciate you for having me, man. For those that don't know, this is a great experience to see, just you do something, again, that I was never really too familiar or thought you were kind of...
Yeah, because you started your podcast about 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And you're pretty consistent on it.
I'm trying, man. It's just... I love basketball. So I love basketball and football, so that's what we talk about. I don't do no self-plugs. We're not doing that. But
no, bro, shout out your podcast. Get it on here. From the Jump Podcast. From the Jump Podcast.
Man. But no, it's just...
Check out the episode with me, Tony, Abram, and
absolutely
David.
One of the highest viewed episodes. But I just want to tell you, thank you. I appreciate you for always paving the way and showing me that you're not one-dimensional. Every time I think that you're done when it comes to just life and evolution, you surprise me, like with this, or the podcast. You've done shoes, then you jump to real estate. Now you're shooting bows. Now you're playing soccer. Now you're doing jiu-jitsu or more martial arts. I don't want to get that wrong. Or, now you go to the UK. Like, every time I think there's going to be a ceiling, you show me that the sky's the limit, and past the sky's the stars. So as long as you keep doing that and keep showing me, Prince, King, James, all those guys, and that we all try to give you something, and it's just a blessing to have you in our lives, and we appreciate you for what you do for us, for sure.
Well, I'll just shout you out one more time because it's when I said a tribe earlier, that's really what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's you all that make me go so hard and also feel like I don't have anything to lose, or something that I'm going to do is just going to dictate my whole future, if that makes sense. Like, right. I don't judge myself based on one season of my life, and everyone I'm connected to has showed me a possibility. So I do want to shout you out, and everyone that's been in my corner. I also appreciate you giving me a fresh look, because you're the first person I've had an episode with that says, man, I didn't really expect you to do something like this, because it's really not my forte. Like, I'm not usually as open, but something I believe in, whether it's my social media content or talking to a client or talking to a friend or a family member, is I want to be authentic. I don't want to overanalyze it. I want to just go with the flow and then go from there. And this has been very fulfilling with me, and I'm only, several episodes in. So it's motivating, but it comes from people like you. So I really appreciate you, bro. 100%.
Anytime you call, I'm answering.
Keep going. We out.